All right, welcome back to another episode of The Sportsmen. As always, Michael the Villani. As always, Joseph Peter DeMar, myself, Neil Arnett, and we are back with another episode for football, guys. This is exciting. More football. We got all the time in the world tonight. At least I do. I didn't even ask you guys if you do, but I'm ready to go for a while on this stuff. But first, gentlemen, how are we doing? How are you guys feeling?
Feel fantastic. Feel great.
Joey
Really
D?
do.
Fresh off a big trip. It's good. We're settling into Florida here for a little while now. Going to be able to enjoy some football, hopefully all together this week, which we really haven't been able to do. We've been on the move. We've been on the run, on the road. So I'm excited. I think we're now almost a quarter of the way through the season, week 4. That's
college.
Yeah.
College.
I mean, that's crazy, though. I mean, that's
college
insane.
Flies. College flies.
Everything flies. Like football, it flies too. It's insane. It's like,
I mean, we got 14 regular season NFL games. So I think of it like that.
I know, but Mikey, you'll blink, it'll be 8.
Oh, absolutely. I say that
sure.
every week. I say that to people. I'm like, listen, enjoy these Sundays because they're very fleeting. Before you know it, it'll be November, December, and it'll all be gone again, and you'll be waiting. So,
and it's a long waiting period for that. But we're in the midst of a great period of time. Baseball's almost in the playoff season, which is the best time for baseball. You got all the other sports starting probably next month in October. It's exciting, and football is in full form.
Speaking of baseball, I mean, we're going to get into college and the episode's all football. But quickly, I just want to quickly say, since the last time we spoke, 2 teams for sure clinched the playoffs. One handled it with all class, and the other one took a different approach. I'm not going to say it wasn't unclassy, but because most teams do it that way now. But Mikey, I just wanted to pick your brains about the way the New York Yankees celebrated making the playoffs.
yeah, I said something about it on Twitter. I said I got no issue with them doing that if they don't celebrate the AL East division title the same way. If they win the AL East tonight, it's Monday night, we're recording. Or Tuesday night, excuse me. It's Tuesday night we're recording. They're playing the Orioles. Magic numbers 1. If they win tonight, they win the AL East. If they do that again tonight, man, that's too much for me. Like, that's too much. Like, you want to celebrate getting in the show? No issue whatsoever. None whatsoever. As soon as you get in the show, you want to celebrate. But if they're going to, like, go crazy like that again because they won the division, when they pretty much, it was a battle there with the Orioles for a while when the Yankees were slumping, but in the last couple of weeks or so, the Orioles have completely imploded and the Yankees have been very hot. But now you got it out of the way for those guys who have never been there. So I understand it for a Volpe and Soto in pinstripes for the first time. So I get it from that perspective. Maybe for those guys, Dominguez, guys last year who didn't make the playoffs, that Yankee team last year imploded once Judge got hurt. They didn't even make the playoffs. But you can't do it again. You just can't do that again now tonight. If you do, it's going to look so cringeworthy and tacky, I feel like. But again, these guys are going to do whatever they want, Tick. And you know what? Boone ain't going to stop them because he ain't the personality type to stop those guys. So he's going to let them do what they want. And I don't know. I'll be curious to see if that happens.
I'll tell you what, man, when the Phillies got in, Rob Thompson's got that team just all class, man. I mean, they celebrated. They held up a drink and he gave a long speech. I mean, I'm not trying to compare here.
I get it.
The Phillies did it.
A lot of people didn't like it. So I mean, I get it.
Didn't like what the Yankees did, or
I get the optics. The optics.
There's something about acting like you've been there before.
Yeah, there is. The thing is that there's several key guys on the team that hadn't been there before.
Sure.
That's why I'm saying I'm okay with it as long as they don't do it again tonight. If they do it again tonight, it's really just the optics of it are going to be so corny. You're a 27-time world champion franchise, the most successful professional sports franchise in the United States. You can't do that again. Like, what are we going to do? Like, and then what? You're going to, winning a playoff series, that's a little bit of a bigger deal, but getting into the show and winning your division, I think it should be the same thing. If you make the playoffs, win your division, unless like you win it, like if it came down to the last game of the regular season and it was like a 1-game do or die and you do it, different story. But if you're going to wrap it up on September 24th and you already popped the champagne bottles, let it go, man. Let's just get there and let's see what's different. Yeah. I mean, we need to win the pennant this year. If the Yankees don't win the pennant this year and get to the show, it is a letdown year, period. With the addition of Juan Soto, Rodon pitching the way he's pitching, Cole pitching a 9-inning outing last time. It's Judge having another insanely historic season. It's do or die for them to win the pennant. They have to make the World Series this year. If they don't, it's same old story with the Yankees. Everyone's going to dismiss them again. So
if there was no context, I would have thought that was a celebration of a team who had just won the World Series.
I don't know about that, Tick. The World Series, definitely a playoff series. I'd say that.
Yeah, I mean, they really, minus the shirts. They just didn't have the shirts, but it was, I thought, quite excessive for a team.
I mean,
if you're the Brewers and you haven't been there a whole bunch, but you're the Yankees, I just felt like it was like, come on, man.
I get it. Judge just hit a home run, by the way. That's 56.
There you go.
That's 56.
That's something to celebrate,
Sure is.
All right,
unbelievable.
He is.
He sure is.
He's a real special player.
He sure fucking is, man.
All right, let's move on to college football here, guys. A lot of good teams, a lot of 4-0 teams, a lot of 3-0 teams, still steamrolling, guys. Who do you guys think is the best team in college football? Who do you like as the top 5 guys, best odds to make the playoffs? And just overall, who do you guys think is a really, really good team out there right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think much has changed in my opinion from last week. Michigan, a very impressive win at home, considering they only had 32 yards.
The ball. Not throwing the ball.
32 yards passing total for Michigan, and they still beat USC. Incredible win. USC just could not stop the run. And if you can't stop the run on the road in the Big Ten, you're probably not going to win, especially against a team. Let's face it, this is still a team that's defending a national championship. They're a proud team, and they impressed me. There's no doubt about it. They're not in the top 4. They're not in the top 5 yet, but certainly they're a team who you got to look at now a little bit differently. But again, the teams I said last week, big win for Tennessee on the road, SEC game at Oklahoma. I mean, anytime you could make a team switch their quarterbacks after the game, during the game, you had a good game. Tennessee forces Oklahoma's out. Yeah, Tennessee's defense all over the field. I thought Heupel actually, surprisingly, I thought he kind of took the foot off the gas. I thought Tennessee could have won that game by more, and he kind of backed off a little bit. That quarterback, for him, Nico, only being in his 5th game ever in that scenario, this kid's going to be something else. Their running back is a workhorse. They have speed on the outside. They are going to be a very, very tough out for anybody to beat. Tennessee is going to be a really tough out. But again, for me, Tennessee, Bama, of course, this Saturday, we get the creme de la creme matchup. We get Georgia at Alabama, 2 versus 4. Alabama getting 2 points as a home underdog. That's going to be a game that is going to really shift the power in the SEC. But again, the same culprits: Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Texas, Ohio State. Those to me are the top 5 teams, no particular order.
Miami looks good still.
Miami's right there. Miami is right. They're 6. So really, top 6.
Miami.
Put Miami in there, and I don't even know what order they're in either. You could throw Miami. They're in that echelon as well.
Miami's winning impressively. They're winning the games that they need to win by plenty of points. I'll tell you, a team that really impressed me without their starting quarterback when it beat Oklahoma State is Utah. I think is the real deal. If Cam Rising can come back, I mean, he's an upper class, great quarterback, and they did it without him. I was really impressed with them. Tennessee was the team I was going to talk about. We were in Nashville, so the game was on everywhere. They had that game pretty much from start to finish. There was really never any point that you thought that they were going to give that game up. They really, like you said, Mikey, they kind of took their foot off the gas, but there was never any point in that game where you're like, okay, Oklahoma has a chance to come back. They kind of dominated, and they've looked really good. So Tennessee, I think, definitely is a top 5 team and needs to be considered as a team, one of the teams to beat. All the other teams, really, Texas, they did what they had to do with Arch Manning. I don't know how long Quinn Ewers is going to be out, but Arch Manning looked pretty suitable. I know they didn't play a great team, but I don't think anything else changed. Like you said, the Michigan game, that's a big win for them because they came and they looked like they were going to, blow the doors off of USC. And then, that game went right down to the wire. But I think still a lot of big games to be played, like you said, Mikey. So we really see who's who's the who in that top elite echelon class of college teams.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting into conference play now. I mean, you look at some of these schedules now coming up, they get very daunting. Like I said, Alabama is a home underdog, and Alabama is very rarely ever a home underdog. And of course, Georgia comes in with revenge on their mind after what happened in the SEC title game last year. A lot of people thought Georgia, if they had made the playoff, may have won the entire playoff last year. They were that good, and they just had they picked the worst time to have their worst game of the year against Alabama in the SEC title game. Ohio State, next 5 games are against teams that are combined 15-3. 2 of those games are against top 10 teams on the road. Oregon on the road, Penn State on the road. Going to be a test, and we'll really see if that Buckeye team is for real or not. And then, Texas will get into deeper SEC play. Another team that just keeps winning, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, the Rebels. They look good too, man. The SEC, the upper echelon of the SEC is really heavy again this year with Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss.
Speaking of Penn State, they look good right now. They finally have what looks to be a quarterback. This kid, Drew Aller, Mikey was high on him walking into the season. He kept reassuring me, saying that this kid's the real deal. Lord knows Penn State hasn't had a gunslinger in quite some time. I'm not ready to say that Drew Aller is that guy, but it's a great start for him. What do you guys think about him and his start over there at Penn State?
You want to go ahead, Joe?
No, I think he's been good. I don't think they've played really anyone that's really difficult yet. So again, it's tough to say, like, when someone's playing well, to diminish like what they're doing, but it's a game changer when you play a team that has a top tier defense. Now they struggled. Who was it that they struggled with?
Bowling Green at home.
Bowling Green. So that to me was a shocker. They did get through that, but
it can happen early in the season sometimes, even with really good teams. But yeah, that was uncomfortable to say the least.
Aside from that, I think if they play a top tier defense and he balls out, I think, it's very hard to tell when you're playing some of these teams, like how good does he fit within the mold of all these other quarterbacks. But I mean, they're handling their business the last couple of weeks. Like you said, Tick, they're doing what they got to do. So they're definitely a team that, that has the potential to be an upper class team. Their coach sometimes I just don't feel like he's the guy who can win them the big game every time.
James Franklin, yeah.
Every time they have a big game, it just seems like he comes up short. So I'd be more worried about the coaching than the quarterback if it was me. But yeah, I don't know. I think Mikey, what do you think? Penn State, I think they're still a team to be reckoned with.
I mean, listen, they have a stud run. Nick Singleton's a stud running back. They have Drew Aller, who's a 5-star ultra recruit that is finally, starting to see his potential. And I think the credit guys got to go to Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator that came over from Kansas, finally unlocking some of that potential and getting James Franklin as far away from that offense as possible. James Franklin, great recruiter. But his knock has been play calling late in big games and against the big dogs, Michigan and Ohio State.
Last year.
He can't beat either of those teams. Those are his Achilles heel. Good litmus test. People aren't going to want to listen to this, but a really good litmus test for Penn State this Saturday at night, hosting Illinois, coming off a big overtime win at Nebraska to break Nebraska.
Illinois looked good.
They knocked Nebraska off last week in Lincoln, which is a big win for Illinois, a huge win. Yeah. Brett Bielema has Illinois playing very well. They're an 18-point underdog on the road at Penn State. That's a lot of lumber to lay to a 4-0 ranked team.
That defense is good, though.
We will see. Illinois got a good quarterback. Penn State always has a good defense. Aller's playing very well. Do I think Penn State wins the game? Yeah, but that's a lot of points. So if they end up covering that spread, Penn State's the real deal. If they could cover 18 against that Illinois team, I'll really be like, yeah, Ohio State's got a very heavy lift in a couple of weeks when they go to Happy Valley.
Yeah, the thing about James Franklin is, I mean, Mikey, you know as well as I do that when you're hired as a head coach in the Big Ten, your job is for whatever team you were hired for is to beat those big 3 schools that historically have always been good in that conference. Obviously, there are years when Illinois is good or Iowa State's good or Michigan State had their run for a while, but Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe to a lesser degree, Penn State, if you're a coach hired in the Big Ten, your job is to win those games. You're supposed to go out and figure out how to beat those schools. And
Yeah.
James Franklin just has not been able to do that against Michigan and Ohio State. And it's been an extremely frustrating situation for all Penn State fans. You know, they are always pre-ranked well. They always hold up well through most of the season, but then they run into the buzzsaw that is Michigan and Ohio State, and they just can't get over that hump. And maybe, hopefully, now that they've got a new OC and they've got a new quarterback that seems to be, like Mikey said, reaching his potential, maybe they can find a little bit more success in that realm. Now let's take it over to another young quarterback I want to pick your guys' brain about. Let's go to Arch Madness. Like Joe had kind of said earlier, it's a lot of these teams haven't played quality teams yet, but early on, what do we make of this kid? Is he as good as advertised, or what do we think?
Who's that? Arch Manning?
Arch Manning,
yeah.
You know, you called him Arch Madness.
Oh,
which was tremendous, by the way.
I thought
That's a great nickname, by the way. If you're gonna have a
There you
nickname,
go.
Arch Madness may be the best one you could have.
Arch Manning.
Listen,
My bad.
I mean, I think Arch Manning was like the most highly touted quarterback recruit ever out of high school, or certainly one of the most highly touted recruits ever to come out of high school. The pedigree, obviously, everyone will talk about the pedigree. Athletic ability through the roof, more so probably than, you know, Peyton and Eli, I would say. Arm looks good. He's going to need reps. I mean, he hasn't played yet. This is only, last week was his second game as the, you know, he wasn't even the starter the game before. He came in for Ewers. So, you know, Texas is so good that I think as long as he's in, I think they'll be fine and they'll compete and they'll win games. I'm not concerned about it. But I mean, I do expect Ewers to come back and he will take his job back, because Ewers right now is the better of the two because of his experience. I would want Ewers in over Manning. I would, because Ewers has done nothing to not deserve that job to come back to him. He's a great quarterback.
He's played very well in big games.
He's great.
Right? Look what he did against Michigan last year. Don't forget, he was beating Alabama before he got hurt. He was winning that game. I think the same thing. I think he's their guy through and through. That's the guy who's going to lead them, you know, this year. But yeah, Arch Manning showed a lot of signs of like good talent, and he's got a lot of good what would be the word, like not tools, but what would be the word? Like he can run, he can roll. He's got a lot of opportunities to make big plays.
He's got
the only thing is he did throw a couple picks. Looked like he was forcing it a little bit early on.
Yeah,
but
again,
that's about the
expected.
nerves.
To be expected. Again, you know, he hasn't played yet, you know, and now he's being thrust into the middle of a national championship chase season. Make no mistake about it. Texas is the #1 ranked team in the country for a reason. They are chasing a national championship. They were in the Final Four, the playoff last year. You know, a heartbreaking loss to Washington. I think they're better this year. Obviously, more experience from the quarterback position only helps them. I love Sarkisian. I've stated that on the record. I think Sark is a great head coach. And they'll be a team to be reckoned with. The only thing is, like, again, this SEC this year is better than it's been in recent years past because of Texas and because of Ole Miss. Bama and Georgia, always you're going to get Bama, Georgia. Always Bama, Georgia. But Texas being in there from the Big 12 coming over, and Ole Miss, that's going to throw a little bit of a wrench into it. But again, I think Arch is going to be tremendous, but his time is next year. This is still Quinn Ewers' time.
Pretty cool that, I mean, Arch could have probably gone to, you know, went to a bunch of different universities and already been playing. Kind of a cool testament to the young man that he's sort of been willing to kind of sit behind Quinn for a year, and now he was expecting another year sitting behind him just to sort of play for that organization or that school and that coach. I think he really likes that coach based on some of the things I was reading earlier. Who wouldn't, of course, but kind of cool. He could have went somewhere else and already been playing, but he chose you know, to play for the guy he wants to play for. I find that admirable.
Me too, because this is like the new theme is like, if you're in college now and you know you got to sit behind somebody, everybody's hitting the portal. And, you know, while I can't complain about that, certainly, because Ohio State is reaping the benefits of the transfer portal, maybe more than any other team, with Kinshawn Judkins and with Caleb Downs. I mean, it is admirable to sit there, but I think he knew what he was walking into. And he shouldn't be in any rush because his time is going to come and he's going to be tremendous. He's going to get drafted. God knows he'll probably go. If he doesn't go 1-1 overall, he'll definitely be a top 5 pick, unless something.
The name
crazy
doesn't
happens.
hurt either.
The name is everything. The name is everything.
Who knows? In a few years, he might be going to the Bears, man. They'll see if they can just ruin another one of those quarterbacks.
You ain't kidding.
Oh, my word.
Speaking of, let's move on to a little week 3 review of the NFL. Let's start off with our Thursday night game. Joe, you and I were watching that in Tennessee. It was Patriots playing the Jets, and the Jets handled business, to say the least. They won 24-3. The Patriots just couldn't get anything going on offense. What'd you guys make of that game?
Well, that game, I mean, it was very evident early on. The Patriots couldn't run the ball. They didn't even try, and then they tried throwing the ball. The Jets defense stepped up, and we talked about it last week. Were they going to start playing better? I thought, to me, that they played a great game. They were all over Brissett. He ultimately left. Drake May came in. They were all over him. Sacking, pressures. Like, they looked very good. And then Rodgers on the other side of the ball. I mean, it took him maybe a week or two to kind of get settled in. He looked as comfortable as I've seen him. I mean, play pretty much, he looked right back to his usual self, scrambling, running for first downs, throwing on the run. I mean, this guy's in his 40s, and he looked like he could be up against anybody in the league pretty much in terms of his talent level. It's unbelievable, especially after an Achilles tear, that he could come back and be that good, but that's what he brings. And I tell you what, man, he was distributing the ball, Lazard, Garrett Wilson. I mean, he looked great. And if he plays like that, the Jets can be a top-tier team, a playoff team. They can go far. And I think that's what a lot of people are expecting. So I was very impressed with the Jets. I think that they played great on both sides of the football. And they went out, they won the game, they dominated, and they took the game, and it was not particularly close.
No, it wasn't, Mikey.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to me, what I saw Thursday night was a top 3 quarterback in the league right now from Aaron Rodgers. The way he played, top 3. Top 3. Him, Allen, and Mahomes. To me, I don't know who I'd take over him. If his line is going to block for him on that team, if his line stays healthy and blocks for him that way, I mean, did you see the way the guy was moving in the pocket?
Yeah, I mean, he looked seamless.
I mean, he did not look like he was like clunky. He did not look like it was laborious, him moving in and out of the pocket. I saw him pick up a couple first downs with his legs. He was running. I mean, listen, is it going to last the whole season? Is he going to break down? I can't predict that. I hope he stays healthy because he put on a clinic. He put on an absolute clinic against the Patriot defense. That what is not like the Patriot defense isn't bad. The Patriot defense is serviceable. I mean, they had played well up until that game. Tremendous win for the Jets, a win, frankly, that they needed to get that monkey off their back, the Patriots, and they dominated the game start to finish. It was never close. It was never in doubt. I'd like to see the momentum they build because I'm not going to put a ton of stock in beating the Titans and beating the Jets at home, beating the Patriots at home. But I do think that if Aaron plays like that, to me, he looked like a top 3 quarterback in the league. He did. He just did. I can't name guys that I'd take over him right now if he's going to look like that every week.
Yeah, that offense looked pretty deadly. But going back to the Patriots side of things, Joe touched on it a little bit. What's with only rushing Ramondre Stevenson 6 times? He fumbled once, I think, and I think they're.
But that was at the end of the game, Tick.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't understand why he only got 6 touches when he's been so good the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and a lot of people were on that rushing prop over attempts. It was like 16.5. He had gotten 20 plus every game, and then
we're running him like crazy.
Once they got the lead, it was like the Patriots went into panic mode because they didn't know how they were going to keep up with the Jets, or I guess they felt like if they gave the Jets the ball back, the Jets were going to score again every time. So they had to kind of force the issue with the pass. But that was very surprising to a lot of people because I'm sure if you looked at those first 2 games, you'd say Jets can't stop the run. Patriots love to run the ball. Ramondre's looked awesome. That's going to work out. And the NFL shows you that just when you think you got it figured out, it goes completely opposite.
Crazy.
Well, that was my game of the week. I certainly thought I had that figured out.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
the running,
yeah.
It wasn't
the
a
running
bad
attack-
pick.
You guys
Tick.
talked me off
Yeah.
of the Jets on the show, and then everyone got mad at me because I put out a pick. I took the Jets, and everyone's like, "You said
Oh,
Patriots."
yeah.
I was like, I know I said Patriots, but now you got to understand we record on a Monday or a Tuesday. By the time Thursday rolls around, I start looking at
It's
different
true.
things. So, but again, Jets, dude, Rodgers looks fucking just.
He does.
He looks awesome. He looks
does.
fucking incredible. I wish he was my quarterback.
Yeah.
And
well,
no knock on Caleb. I'm just saying how awesome Rodgers
Yeah, he
looks.
looks
That's not a
really
knock on
good.
Caleb.
He looked confident.
Dude, Thursday night, he looked like he could win the MVP this year. That's how he looked on Thursday night. That's not an exaggeration.
He was
That's how good he
tossing the
looked.
ball to Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson.
Joe,
By
he
the way,
was-
you got Brees Hall and that backup,
Yeah.
that running back, the
Braylon
rookie guy.
Allen,
Oh, he
Braylon
looks
Allen
good
from
too.
Wisconsin looks awesome.
I mean,
I was
they
going to
have
say, I think the Jets have the most underrated pass catching trio in the league in Mike Williams. If Mike Williams stays healthy, it's been his bugaboo his entire career. Everyone knows it. He can't stay healthy. If he does, the familiarity with Lazard, Mike
Yeah,
Williams
J-Lo
being
can
the
sink.
Mike Williams being the deep ball guy, the jump ball guy, and then Garrett Wilson just being the silky
Anything.
smooth route runner that catches everything and anything that comes to him. That is one of the more underrated pass catching trios in the league. They're really good. And my God, the Jets are like fun to watch, which is like,
They
that
look
hasn't
good in
happened
those
years.
uniforms too.
Yeah,
It's gotta be
uniforms
They
are
do.
sharp. Uniforms
do.
are sharp. Very
It's
sharp.
got to be fun if you're a Jets fan. You haven't seen a win that
Dude, what?
convincing and that good for a long time.
I'm talking to some of my buddies who are obviously Jets fans around here, and they're just like elated. They're elated. They can't believe what they're
And
watching.
they deserve it, to be
They
honest.
do, man. They suffered a
They
long
do.
time.
I would be weary though if I was a Jets fan. Anytime those guys get excited, something happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping that doesn't this year,
I'm
man.
hoping
Especially
same. I
injury wise.
agree.
Like it's they already lost Jermaine Johnson for the year. I said this too, Tick, and you might want to see. I want to go on record for saying this. If the Jets end up winning another 3-4 games in a row, I think they're going to bite the bullet and pay this guy Hassan Reddick whatever he wants. I really do, because I think they're going to say the ball is in our court with that. The situation sucks. It's unfair. It stinks. Everybody hates the guy.
Yeah.
They're pissed off. But you can't stare a season in the face where you don't know if you're going to get back to that point where you're making a legitimate run, and you have a guy like that's that valuable to add to your defense to make them even better, elevate them even higher, and you're just going to let them sit because you want to do it out of principle. I think they cave. If they win 3 or 4 more games in a row, I think they're going to cave and pay him.
Good, they
Depending how
should.
it goes.
They should. He's earned it. I know that's been quite a circus, that whole
Yes.
situation, but
Yes.
if you look at his career, I think he's a guy who's earned it. Speaking of, let's go to his former team here on Sunday. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I'm going to let you guys mainly run
Scoop
away
the
with
dub.
this thing. Yeah, Mikey, there are good wins and there are bad wins. I'm
dub.
not prepared to call that one a good one.
This
The
guy-
Eagles
this
went to
guy is-
New Orleans.
this guy's
oh,
unbelievable,
come on,
bro. This
Mikey.
guy
Are
is
you Did you
unbelievable.
watch the game?
No, but I mean, like,
Nothing
you
about
won.
that was pretty or made me feel excited about the team or the future.
Yeah, but the Saints were the team to beat.
They were the bell of the ball.
Oh,
you knocked
yes.
off the hottest team in
Flop.
football. in their
on the
building.
road, on the road.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know how you did it?
offense and the offensive play calling is sloppy,
Yeah, but you
lazy,
know how
and
you did it?
predictable. And the fact that Saquon Barkley does not get the touches he deserves until the end of the game when they're like in panic mode, and then he fucking does what he just did. It's insanity to me that this guy
He
isn't
needs
getting
to be
touches.
the cornerstone
Of
of your
course.
offense.
Of
He is
course he
so-
does.
So
He's
fucking
going to be
good.
now
Of
because you don't
course
have
he
Devonta
does.
Smith. You don't have A.J.
Ugh.
Brown right now. So him and Dallas Goddard are going to be seeing a lot of the football. And Goddard looked awesome.
That hit, yeah, he did. That hit on Devonta Smith was
filthy hit.
filthy
hit.
man.
Filthy
That was
hit, yeah.
disgusting, dude.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
I can't
gross.
believe he's walking away with just a concussion. I mean,
Yeah.
it looked a whole lot worse than that. But anyway, that's you got a little bit of my feelings there. What do you guys think about the Eagles walking away with a great 15-12 win there in New Orleans?
A win is a win on the road in the NFL, especially.
Sure.
You knocked off the hottest team in the league. You did it in their building. Everybody all of a sudden was, wow, the Saints. Eagles took care of business. They stood on business. Defense stepped up.
Yeah,
they
that's the
made-
big takeaway there. The
The
defense,
defense
defense
stepped up.
did.
Jalen
defense
Carter.
played better than they have played at all, Tick, at any point.
Jalen
in the-
Carter was reborn.
Jalen
He
Carter,
was-
highest PFF rated defender of the week. Jalen Carter. And you know what? Reed Blankenship, I think he was the 5th highest rated defensive player on PFF for the week. So great performance from the Philly defense. I get what Tick's saying about the offense, and I understand where he's coming from. Even sometimes in wins, you want to, hyper criticize your team, and I get that. But they needed that win, Tick, and they got it. They needed it and they got it.
Yeah,
it's an
and keep in
NFC
mind,
team. It's on the road. It's a good win.
You didn't have your number one receiver as well. And then Devonta Smith left the game. So like you guys faced some adversity. You had some really big time personnel, missing for that game. And at the end of the day, it just goes to show Saquon Barkley needs to be, like I said, the cornerstone of that offense. They need to give him the ball. They need to trust him. And then from that, they need to play action or quarterback draws with Jalen Hurts, because, how long is Devonta Smith going to be out for now? If he misses a week or two now, I mean, you guys go from 2 unbelievable pass catchers to all of a sudden you really got no one to throw the ball to aside from Goddard, really.
Ryan Covey is going to be seeing a lot of targets.
They love the screen pass to Covey.
Also, this guy on defense, going back to the defense, Zach Bond, this linebacker, I don't know where he came from, who he is, but he's been playing out of his mind. And the rookie, Quinyon Mitchell, has looked extremely promising as well.
The Toledo corner.
Yeah, and Nakobe Dean is starting to find his way too. I would like to see that defense get a win like this. No offense to Derek Carr, but against a quality quarterback. Yeah. I think the jury is still out on just how good that Saints offense is, despite the 2 first weeks they had. But yeah, I mean, you're right. A win's a win. It's just, I'm just seeing so many issues on that team that it's almost exactly as last year. They're finding ways to win. They're 2-1. They found a ton of ways to win last year, but it's like, I'm seeing issues that will become boogaboos in the playoffs that will cost them if they don't clean them up. And I screamed all last year, if they can clean them up, then we have a shot because we have the talent, but they didn't clean it up. They spent the entire year doing the exact same thing, and it eventually bit them, and they made no changes. And if we do the same thing, we're going to see the same result. So just need to see some excitement with that offensive play calling. I mean, it's not just the players underperforming like Jalen Hurts. I like to give him a bad time, but that is some boring, predictable offensive play calling. And if you don't make Saquon, like Joe said, the cornerstone of that offense, he is the focus, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to be in big, big trouble. That being said, Saints could be frauds. They might be.
It could be. I think the Saints, the only reason I think the Saints will maintain some kind of consistency is because I do believe in their defense. I think they have a pretty good defense.
And the Eagles are a good team. I know that,
regardless of what you say, they're
one of the better teams in the NFC.
On paper, yeah. On paper,
in general, I mean, they beat the Packers, and the Packers the last 2 weeks without their starting quarterback look like one of the best teams in the league. So, like, I think what you're saying, I get it. I agree with. I don't disagree with you, but you still have to understand that you're one of the better teams and one of the teams that people would still put as a favorite to potentially go to the Super Bowl. Whether you're liking what you're seeing or not, they got the talent.
It's just the talent, yes, of course, is there. But do you know how bad coaching can fuck up good talent? It happens everywhere you go. You can put Robert De Niro in a movie, but if the director fucks the movie up, then you have a shit movie with Robert De Niro in it.
Who you talking to, dog?
Yeah, I know you know all about it. Well,
Eberflus.
Speaking of, let's go to the Bears. They played the Colts this week. They went into Indy and they came out with a loss, 21-16. Mikey, what do you walk us through that one?
I mean, if you told me before the game that Caleb Williams would throw for almost 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, even with the 2 interceptions, I would say the Bears won that game like 28-12. That would be my guess. If you told me that was the stat line for Caleb, I would tell you that. I've seen tremendous strides from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 for Caleb. The issue is the play calling. 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, you run the ball 4 times, all times out of the shotgun. On 4th down, you run a speed option. All your offensive linemen, I'm sure you guys have seen the picture, they're all laying on the floor while the defensive line's in the backfield. The offensive line is sloppy. It's inconsistent. The biggest issue with the Bears right now, apart from coaching, apart from the O-line, is they have no run game whatsoever. None. DeAndre Swift may as well not even have come to the team. He has not done anything.
But that's part of the offensive line issue.
I know, but I know it.
He looks
and
bad.
They can't run block. They cannot run block. But man, oh man, I mean, I just would think his athleticism at some point, he'd just get lucky and break one, man. You cannot win in the NFL with a rookie quarterback trying to do things with Caleb to suit his strengths when you cannot run the football at all. They lost to a bad Colts team. Anthony Richardson is not a good quarterback. I'm sorry, Colts fans. He's flat out bad. He's a bad quarterback. You can tell me he's going to get developed. I think he's terrible. I think he's terrible, man. I really do. I don't think he could throw worth a lick, Tick. Can he make some
he's got an arm.
Can he make some highlight reel throws? Yes, I could name about 20 guys who could do that, who never made it in the league.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about him. That team, their O-line is very good. Their offensive line, the Colts, is very good. They could run with Taylor.
Jonathan
Obviously,
Taylor's great.
Taylor got his. The defense is not good. The Colts defense is not good. They're not a good team. The Bears should have won that game, and they didn't. And I mean, they're sitting here 1-2, and it's going to be growing pains for a while until they figure out who they are. Again, lack of identity on offense. They don't know who they are. They made this kid throw the ball 52 fucking times. His numbers from a clean pocket, he threw 67% completion rated, 331 yards, no turnovers, 1 touchdown. But the problem is he doesn't get enough clean pockets. The pockets very rarely clean. So when it is, he racks up the majority of his yards. When it's not, the offense is completely disjointed. Lack of the run game doesn't help. And obviously the play calling hasn't helped at all. It's a very, very ugly thing to watch. It's very ugly to watch. It's painful to watch. It's familiar to watch, all too familiar. And we're sitting at 1-2, and combining with the fact that the 3 best teams in the NFC may all be in the NFC North. The Vikings, Packers, and Lions may be the best 3 teams apart from the Eagles in the NFC. And they're all in the same division.
By the way, they're a lot better than the fucking Buccaneers. There's some teams. There are teams.
You didn't see that coming, Joe.
I know. I said that. I said that last week. I'm saying there's teams that are 2-1 that are not that caliber of team.
Correct.
They're one of them.
Correct.
I mean, for God's sakes, the Washington Commanders are 2-1.
I think that the Minnesota Vikings are the 3rd best team in football currently, behind the Chiefs and the Bills.
Darnold
looks excellent.
He looks amazing.
And Brian Flores, with that defense, they are sacking the quarterback at a historic rate. Brian Flores just wants to kill the opposing quarterback. And man, oh man, if I'm a fan of a team, I want a defensive coordinator that's going to come after the quarterback every single play. I love that. I love a blitz happy coordinator. You know, unless you have the kind of personnel where your front 4 is so dominant that you don't need to send the blitz, just send the blitz and make these quarterbacks can't play against the blitz this year. They can't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll get to that game in a minute. Quickly going back to the Bears, I think for the same reason that Caleb Williams can't get a clean pocket, it's the same reason you're seeing these kinds of performances out of DeAndre Swift. I mean, if they can't protect this young man back there, so he's getting a lot of I don't see who's the other guy, Roshan. I don't see him lighting the world on fire behind him.
No, he's not.
I tell you what, though, he had a couple better runs. I don't know. I think what you're going to see, I think you're going to see Swift give up that lead back roll. I really do.
I think that's a mistake,
you think so?
man.
I do. I think they're gonna go Roshan or Khalil Herbert on 1st and 2nd, and then bring Swift in on 3rd. I think that's what you're gonna see moving forward. Could be wrong.
3 weeks. You gotta.
I know. I get it.
Yeah. Well,
it's been tough to watch. It's been a bad 3 weeks, man. Really bad. Even the game they won was a miserable game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, at least it was fun to see Rome Odunze have a nice game. I mean, that was fun.
Listen,
pretty well too.
Komet had a monster game.
Right.
Komet had a monster game. Rome had a big game finally. I was starting to question Rome a little bit, his toughness. He's getting beat on these contested jump balls a little bit too much. He came back with a little bit of a vengeance there. Cole finally came out. They started using him. Again, they didn't use him the first 2 games. They wanted to force.
Did you see
Gerald
him that wide open one? It looked like he almost didn't catch it. Looked like he was almost about to drop it. I was like,
dude, it's just such an adventure watching this offense week in and week out. You don't know what the fuck is going to happen, but nothing good usually.
Yeah, I mean, on the other end, Joe, you have Anthony Richardson on your fantasy team. I mean, what do you think about him? Do you agree with Mikey's take?
I mean, he looked great the first week.
Yeah.
He looked great the first week, and then the last 2 weeks, I don't know what the hell he's doing out there.
Some really bad decisions, man.
Yeah, and you know what? He did the same thing in Florida, Mikey. He had games where he looked like he could be a Heisman candidate, and then he had games where he was just making baffling decisions and horrible mistakes. It's like it didn't help that he missed most of last year with an injury. He's got to settle in and play a full season and get more reps. Like we said, he played enough football.
And listen, the two defenses he's played the last 2 weeks, Bears defense is a top 5 defense in the league. Packers defense is a good defense. So those are two tougher defenses. So I'll give him that. But the issue with him at Florida was the accuracy issues. The completion percentage was so low, and everybody said that was the red flag. And it's scary when he's missing these guys that are open by wide margins in the NFL, that you can't do that. You got to hit these guys when they're open. There's just, that's the only way to survive in this league.
And he's got a great receiver in Michael Pittman Jr., but he hasn't been able to develop any kind of rapport with anyone really. Yeah. It's to answer your question, Tick, it's a little nerve-wracking. I don't know. I gotta hold on to him for a bit and hope that he figures some things out, because he's the kind of guy, if you drop him on your fantasy team and he does figure it out, somebody's going to swoop him up, and it's going to be really tough to watch him make it like highlight reel plays when he's not on your team.
I've got Aaron and Jalen. If you're prepared to make me an offer that I can't refuse,
I'm willing to take a chance on Jalen Hurts. I know that you're out on him, but I'd be willing to make a play and see what he can do for my team.
All right, put something up. We could talk. All right, moving on. We were sort of just touching on this game, but let's get into it fully. Texans went to Minnesota. Minnesota just romped them. I'm not sure many people saw that coming. 34-7. I know we were just talking about it, but C.J. Stroud and the boys couldn't get it done there. Joe, I mean, is Sammy
Davis over early? It was over early. They were running the ball with Aaron Jones. They were getting passes. They were dissecting that Texans defense. It looked like Darnold got hurt for a bit. Thankfully, he came back into the game. But this game was over. And Mikey touched on it. The Vikings defense just looks formidable. Like they are just, it's like every third down, they were blitzing. They were coming guns blazing. Stroud had no protection. He was running for his life. And they just swallowed them whole. And, the game was over. I was not a fan of them kicking a 58-yard fucking field goal when you're up, 31 to whatever it was. The game was over. And that almost killed us, Mikey. I was on that under with you.
Dude, I literally lost my I couldn't believe my mind when they tried that field goal. I lost my mind. You never, let me tell you. So I tweeted that. I said, the more I'm thinking about this under, the more I want to know why the hell Kevin O'Connell.
It was shocking.
58-yard attempt, and people are tweeting me back, and they're saying, well, they want to see what the kicker's got.
Oh, come
on. This is the NFL. You punt the ball away the way your defense is playing, and that's it. It's the end of the game. The game is over. You miss it. Now you give the Texans half a field. There's no way they're going to come back and win the game anyway, so I get that. You want to get the guy reps, get him I don't know, man. I throw my hands up. If you wanted to get him the rep, okay, you got him the rep. But man, oh man, dominant performance by the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, your boy Aaron Jones looks still like he could shoot out of a cannon, man. He looks so great. Good. The Vikings they're a really solid all-around team. They're just a really good football team. They're going to be a tough football team. When they get Jordan Addison back, they're going to really be tough, man, because that's just going to add another dimension to that offense and another guy that Darnold could get the ball to. Hawkinson's not even playing yet.
I know.
I mean, this team could be very, very dangerous, but it all comes back to that Brian Flores defense, how aggressive they are. The Texans' offensive line is a liability. It is a liability. And if that doesn't get fixed, they're going to have a tough time doing anything in the playoffs, because all the teams saw what happened in Minnesota, and they're going to use the same formula. And they're going to say, if we could get after Stroud, that's going to be it for him. I'm curious to see how it's going to work out with Steph Diggs, how it's going to keep working out with Diggs. And, it's a lot of mouths to feed in that Texans offense. Nico Collins is the best wide receiver on that team. I don't care what you say about Steph Diggs. I think
Tank Dell's pretty damn good too.
He is. I think Nico's the one with a bullet, though. I really do. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud. a wake-up call for the Texans. They got punched in the mouth. I'm curious to see how they respond this week. I think they respond well because I'm a
Their
believer
division
in
is such
D'Amico
trash,
Ryans.
though. With the Jaguars look horrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Sure.
horrific. The Colts look
Wow.
in disarray. They look like they're in disarray. I mean, the Titans, that whole division
They're
stinks.
gonna walk away winning the division.
That's what I'm saying.
But Houston,
So, like,
listen, Houston ain't worried about the division. That's old news. They made the show last year. They want to contend for the AFC. At present, they can't. Not with that offensive line.
no, I know, but I'm saying they got wiggle room because that division might be
to win the
it might be
division,
the
sure.
worst in football.
It is the worst in football.
Yeah.
It is the worst.
Absolutely.
It's the worst in football because you have one good team and then you have three
Putrid.
You got three quarterbacks. One is being called the biggest bust of all time, perhaps, in Trevor Lawrence after Monday night.
Whoa.
I mean, Tick, I called this from fucking.
You did.
You know
You
why?
did.
You know why,
I
Tick?
know
You know
did.
why? Not because he's a bigger bust than, like, let's say, Jamarcus Russell, because he secured a secondary bag. They paid this guy. They
But he
paid
also
this
was
guy.
hurt last year.
It's
He
not
came
like
back.
it's not like the Raiders paid Jamarcus Russell 3 years into his career. We're going to throw you another. They gave this guy a boatload of money. This guy has
that's on
lost
them.
his last 8 starts ticket. His last
I
8
know.
starts.
But
I
Mikey,
know,
the
I
other
know,
thing
I know.
too is they haven't seen him since he
know.
came back from injury. They just paid him, and he looks like he can't move. He looks like he's wading through fucking quicksand.
That interception he threw last night to DeMar Hamlin was terrible. It was terrible.
It's
It
just
was
some
terrible.
bad throws.
That was an Anthony Richardson type throw. That was
And that's the
rough.
quarterback of another team in the division. And by the way, the starting quarterback of the other team in the division
Might be worse than both of them.
Is the guy who lost 2 games single-handedly, Will Levis.
He gave you guys.
Yeah.
He gave you guys the victory week 1.
Thank you
to
for
be
that,
honest.
Will. At least I got 1 win under my belt. Appreciate it, pal.
The
Thank
defense and special teams.
Yeah.
My God.
All right. Well, enough about bad quarterbacks. Let's jump to good quarterbacks. How about them Steelers, man? How about Justin Fields,
baby.
and them Steelers getting a win at home against the Chargers, man? Unfortunately, Justin Herbert goes down, but
Stupid
Justin
decision
Fields
playing him.
Yeah,
They shouldn't have played him.
They
High
shouldn't have.
ankle sprain. How are you playing with a high ankle sprain on the road against arguably the best defense in the league? How are you,
You think
gonna do that?
Harbaugh would have sat him?
Harbaugh's an old school guy, man. He's one of those warrior mentality guys.
He also
but now,
loves Justin Herbert, man.
He does.
wants
And
him
he
out on the
should.
field
He should.
whenever
He
he
should.
can.
I mean,
He
Herbert's
loves
great.
him. Yeah, he is.
I couldn't be happier for Justin Fields. I really could not be happier for Justin Fields. I wanted it to work in Chicago so bad. He was one of my favorite Ohio State players of all time. And it's working in Pittsburgh, and it's working because they're working around him and what he can do and what he can't do. And it's running the football. It's quick reads. It's getting the ball out of his hand very quickly, very fast. He's still using the run when he has to, but only when he has to, and he looks good doing that. I hope he stays healthy. Their defense plays defense better than most teams in the league, and that's the formula they're using. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Chargers now potentially lost Joey Bosa, Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, and Justin Herbert all in the same game. They're 2 starting bookend tackles who are all world tackles. Joe Alt, I know it's his first year, rookie year, but he had looked tremendous before he got hurt up until that point. Herbert, obviously, and then Joey Bosa hurt again. Joey Bosa, he gets hurt every year. I love him, but he gets hurt every year. That's a tough loss for the Chargers on multiple fronts, because not only do you lose the game, but you potentially lost your starting quarterback now for who knows how long. Heineke's a decent enough backup, I suppose, but you lose your bookend tackles. Now you got a backup quarterback with dual protection on the edges.
God.
That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. And it's a bad time because I thought Quentin Johnson, the receiver from TCU, is much maligned last year, his rookie year with the drops. I thought he finally was gaining that rapport, as Joe
Dobbins
said
looked
before.
good.
Dobbins, leading rusher in the league coming into the game against Pittsburgh. Bad loss on multiple fronts for the Chargers. Pittsburgh 3-0. Justin Fields, it's his job now. It ain't Russell Wilson's.
Yeah,
and it
it's
ain't going to
crazy.
be Russell Wilson's.
No.
It's Justin Fields' job. Bears 6th-round pick turns into a 4th-round pick if Justin Fields plays 51% of the offense.
He's going to play.
Hopefully.
Hey,
Please
I
stay healthy.
mean, what do you do if you're Pittsburgh now? You got Russell Wilson. You just signed him, like, sitting on the bench.
Trade him.
To who?
Right?
Yeah,
To
to
one of these
who?
teams
Who
that
the fuck wants
Dude,
Russell Wilson
I
right
mean,
now?
you don't think the Dolphins
Well-
would take Russell Wilson over
who?
Skylar Thompson?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Dolphins.
let me tell you.
You don't think the
can we talk
Titans-
about the
you don't
Dolphins
think-
game,
You
Pop?
don't think the Titans would take him over Will Levis right now? I don't know.
man.
I think there's plenty of teams out there.
The guy is not even proven. He hasn't played. He's still
No,
hurt.
Joe, I get that, but still, I want him over Skylar
Who
Thompson.
wants that salary? I mean, it's crazy.
He's not getting paid a lot now, though. I think the Broncos had to eat all of that. The
They
Oh,
did.
did
Steelers
they have
only
to
gave
eat
him,
all? Oh, okay.
yeah, Steelers
I
only
didn't know
paid
if
him
that
like,
transferred over. 'cause
Steelers paid him
that's-
pennies, basically.
That Broncos salary was ridiculous.
But
Yeah, absurd.
how would that deal still work if then the Steelers traded him to whoever he trades
The
them
Steelers
to?
would probably have to pay a tick, but I think that the Steelers, like, they wouldn't, I don't even know if they would give a shit because they're not paying him a lot of money. The Steelers.
Yeah, you can't.
But whatever
You
team he
can't go
gets
away
traded
from-
to, would that deal with the Broncos still paying most of his salary carry over to, let's say he goes
I
to
think the
Miami?
Broncos are stuck with that money. They had to eat
Oh.
that money no matter what.
It's crazy.
So I
my
think
God.
that's the way that worked. And remember, they benched him intentionally, the
Yeah.
Broncos, to get out of paying even more money to him.
Mhm.
That should have been the red flag for Pittsburgh right there. But again, in the NFL, these teams get so wonky when it comes to just getting the quarterback because they're so few and far between.
Well, I think, Mikey, that they had their own concerns because why would you go out and get a Justin Fields when you just brought in Russell Wilson?
Well, they got
and then you
Fields. They
create
got
that.
Fields for a bag of balls. A bucket
Yeah.
of balls.
I understand that, but you would think if you go out, you get your guy, your
Yeah.
knight in shining armor, who's going to lead your team. Then
Yeah.
you go out and bring a guy like Justin Fields, who's clearly going to contend for that starting position. Like you're already starting. Like you got to think that they maybe thought, okay, maybe they found out he was more hurt than they knew. Who knows? I don't know.
I think that in Pittsburgh's ideal world, they bring in Russell Wilson. He plays, he doesn't get hurt, and he plays and he
Yeah.
plays well,
And
and
then
he
they
becomes
mold
the
Fields.
mentor to Fields, and Fields is the future guy.
Like the Rodgers with Love situation.
Give credit to Fields. He grabbed the job by the balls in the offseason. Russell had a setback with the calf injury or whatever now that's been nagging him for over a month. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And now Justin has asserted himself. He's inserted himself into that offense, and it's taken off. And no, they're not scoring points. And let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
but they're winning in Pittsburgh fashion.
They're winning. That's it. And Pittsburgh don't give a shit about anything else but winning. And that's what it should be. They don't give a shit if Justin Fields throws for 350 yards. If it's a win at the end of the day, if he threw for 70 yards, but the running back went for $120 with 2 touchdowns, Pittsburgh wins the game 14-0. That's a Steeler glorious win. That's what they want.
I find it hysterical because Jerry used to shit on Justin Fields so much.
I know.
He
I'm
did,
gonna
Appreciate Jerry.
yeah.
And then when Russell
He
Wilson
did.
came, he had his Twitter as Russell
Dude.
Wilson. He had everything Russell Wilson. And now Justin Fields has his team 3-0 and looking like one of the better teams in the AFC. He's got to be sitting there thinking like, I used to shit on this guy. Remember he had the clown face T-shirt with Justin Fields because he didn't want to sign the autograph.
Yeah, that's
You remember
right.
that whole
Yeah.
fucking conundrum? Man, life comes at you full circle.
Irony can be
sometimes.
painful. Irony sure
And he
can.
doesn't seem to mind though. He looks pretty fucking happy.
Oh, he's 3-0. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you're winning again, all this comes down to is winning. When you're winning, that's all that matters. Everybody's happy when they're winning. You know, that's
But there's going to be a time, Mikey, where they're going to face some adversity, and that's going to be where it's interesting. Now, I think a guy like Mike
this
Tomlin,
picture has to get posted again
Yes,
real soon.
yes.
Yeah.
Real
Yes.
soon because
That's the picture.
how the tides have turned.
I mean, yeah, it
Yeah.
is what it is. I mean, but the thing is, Mikey, I do think with a coach like Mike Tomlin, even if they face some adversity, he's such an experienced, good coach. I think he'll handle that whole situation in a way that it will need to be handled, and they're going to be fine.
Dude, I would do backflips naked down the Garden State Parkway to have Mike Tomlin as the Bears head coach. You could talk to me about 500 every year all you want. That's a real NFL head coach, a successful, proven NFL head coach. And again, they're maximizing Fields' potential. He's on a better team. I don't think there's any question about that. I think he's on a better team than he was at any point in the Bears. Maybe not the Bears roster this year, which I think is a good roster. But he's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Well, he's got a better offensive line for sure, which is going to be a friend to any.
They just
quarterback.
lost their tackle for likely the season.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
sucks. Which sucks.
Is
But
not
this
what
is
Justin Fields wants to hear.
This
There's
is
so many
you know,
injuries,
there-
man.
Yeah, there really are. I mean, it's every team, man, is losing guys left and right. It's sick. Sick.
And it's crazy. This new kickoff was supposed to change all that, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Keep making the guys not hit each other as much as you can. Then when they hit each other, they're not used to it. And,
Correct. Yeah.
You know, it's like.
All right, we got a number of good games still to go to before we get to week 4. How are you guys doing on time? You guys all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Perfect. All right, let's keep it rolling.
Sweating.
Let's move. Sure. Andy Dalton is the man of the week, man.
Man.
That Panther offense roaring again, man. They take care of business in Las Vegas against the Raiders, 36-22. What'd you guys make of the game, and what'd you make of him?
He looked good, man. He looked really good. He threw a ball to Thielen for a touchdown.
Yeah, that was a sick
one
throw.
of the nicer throws and catch touchdowns I saw all week.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, Bryce Young, man, he is a class act. Did you see at the end of the game, he stayed there and shook every single guy's hand on the team before they went back? It's got to be tough for Bryce Young because he comes out and then the team goes out and gets a win. Yeah. And not only a win, a convincing win. It was an absolute bloodbath. That game was never close. And I think Dalton provided them with the spark that maybe they haven't had. He was making downfield throws. He looked competent. Chuba Hubbard was running very hard too. I mean, the team just looked completely different. They looked very good. Now the Raiders, I tell you what, man, this is a team that's got some soul searching to do.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned about the Raiders right now because
Minshew, after winning against the Ravens, to lose at home against the
Panthers. What though? You lose the game fine, but then for Antonio Pierce to say that it's no guarantee that he's going to be the starting quarterback, like what the fuck is that though, man? Like how can? Because the guy lost
think
one
Aiden
game.
O'Connell is their guy, though.
The defense got dog walked, though, man.
Yeah,
and Antonio Pierce said it himself. He goes, "Guys were making business decisions out there. That's bad. That's on you, dog. That's on you. That's on you if you're putting guys out there who don't want to play. That's on you." Max Crosby dinged up. He was not when Max Crosby is not at full nut job, 100-mile-an-hour go. That defense suffers incredibly, and I think you saw a little bit of that. Minshew was getting Minshew was holding the ball way too long, and he was getting swallowed up. He was getting swallowed up by a Panthers team that I thought they were just going to lay down. It was the complete opposite. It was if they set off a firecracker in everyone's fucking pants, and they just went balls to the wall this week. Dalton.
That's the NFL, though, Mikey. That's
Dalton
the NFL.
Looked like an. I texted Ticket because we had some action with the Raiders, and I texted him. I said Dalton looks like he's going to win the MVP.
Yeah,
I actually had the Panthers in this game. I had
the
Panthers. I did. I had in a parlay, so I should have straight up
parlay,
taken,
right?
Yeah, but I had the money line. I thought that Dalton might be the one last chance of hope for this team. But yeah, that's the NFL that we're in, though. There's parity. Any given team on any given night.
Correct.
Look at the Commanders last night beating the Bengals at 0-2 at home, and they beat them convincingly.
Commanders could be a
problem.
problem.
You can't take games off. You cannot take games off. Jaden Daniels, by the way, looked
tremendous.
He could be a player. He could be
my. You talk about Anthony Richardson not living up to hype. You want to talk about a guy who's exceeded hype so far? Jaden Daniels looks like he could do anything he wants.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. We'll get to Monday night. But before we do, we got to get to the Ravens and the Cowboys. These Cowboys, man, they're a problem. But the Ravens get their first win of the year, and they win 28-25 in Dallas. Derrick Henry having quite a night as well. He's looking reborn. What do you guys think?
Love the Ravens in that spot. They made it very crazy at the end, which is what the Ravens do in the fourth quarter, last couple of games.
I couldn't believe that.
But I looked at the first two Ravens games against the Chiefs and then the loss against the Raiders, and I said, what's the common denominator here? What sticks out? It's Lamar Jackson throwing too many passes. That's not who the Ravens are. Again, if Lamar is throwing more than 30 passes a game, that's not who the Ravens are. And what did they do against Dallas? Reduce the load on Lamar, increase the load on the running game. Derrick Henry right at the Dallas defense after they saw what the Saints did to them the week prior, and that was the magic sauce. That was the winning formula. That's the Ravens' identity. I know people want to see Lamar in the pocket, dancing, flinging it to Zay Flowers, flinging it to Likely, to Andrews, to Bateman. But that's not who the Ravens are. The Ravens are a running football team, run first, pass second. They did that in Dallas. They should do it moving forward, and they'll be just fine because they're a really good defense. until the fourth quarter, and they have the personnel on offense to win, and they have the head coach. So that was the right game plan. They had the right game plan. They executed it, made it very interesting, but they held on and covered -1.
Dallas's defense is an issue. And at this point, you got to look at Micah Parsons, and you got to see
this guy Parsons, man.
Did you see him after the game?
I'm so sick of this guy on his podcast. On it, this
you see
guy
him after the
talks
game in the
more
locker
than
room?
he talks more than anybody in the league, Joe.
And he blew a number of assignments where he was supposed to be watching Dak, or when he was supposed to be watching Lamar, and he fucking burned him for 2 touchdowns. I mean,
never forget, this is the same guy who sat out his last year at Penn State because he didn't want to get just something to think about. Just something to think about.
Oh, he's a hell of a player, I will say.
I'm not saying.
But for him to call out the whole team, and I mean, you can look at a number of plays that he fucked up in that game. I
think he's saying it more as like the leader, the captain of that defense. Like he's saying guys got to step up, and I think he holds himself accountable too. But I'm just saying in general, this defense, which was supposed to be one of the better defenses going into the season, has looked in the last 2 weeks abysmal. Absolutely and completely abysmal. And they got to figure it out. They're getting gashed on the run. Gashed. Henry looked like he was running through the stables, man. It was like he was like circa fucking whatever it was when he was in Alabama. This guy looked fresher than hell.
Just imagine him running downhill at you. The size of this guy.
Trying to tackle guy.
That's a guy who defenders are going to make a business decision against, because this guy is just. Did you see the thing about his diet tick? What he spends on his diet?
No.
$250,000 a year on his diet.
Oh, good for him.
No gluten, no dairy. He's got like this new diet. He doesn't eat during the off season until 4 or 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah, he's intermittent fasting.
How much would you say you spend on your diet a year?
I mean, not 250K. Not 250K.
And by the way, the 250K he's spending isn't like he's eating lobster and filet mignons every night. No. This guy's eating like protein shit.
Yeah. It's just wild. But anyway, I digress. But I just don't like to see Micah Parsons. Then on his podcast this week, he's calling out CJ Gardner-Johnson or whatever.
No.
Like, what the fuck? Shut up. Your team is 1-2. You haven't won a playoff game since the Clinton administration. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? Micah Parsons just can't help it. He's one of these guys, man. He's so concerned about everything going on around him that he's missing what's happening right underneath his nose. That's really what it feels like to me. Dallas defense is an absolute shambles. It's in shambles. Bad. And now this week, they got the Giants, a team that they typically wax. But they're on the road. It's a short week.
I don't know if they're going to wax anyone with this defense.
Very curious to see how that works.
Yeah, I mean, and Danny Dimes got that offense moving a little bit this past week against the Browns. I mean, they scored. They can definitely score the football, man. But this Dallas team is in rough shape, and I'm with Mikey, man. Micah Parsons needs to shut his mouth. Very sick of him at this point. If you're going to do it when you're winning. I mean, you cannot be losing in the way that you're losing right now and have the defense playing the way the defense is playing right now and still be talking that trash, man. It's tough.
I mean, it's just a weird, it's just weird with him at this point. It's just awkward. It's cringy.
It is. That was a good point too, though. That is something worthwhile remembering. The Penn State, that final year, the fact that he sat out. I forgot all about that. That's true. That's a good point.
I mean, listen, I don't like that.
I don't like it either. Yeah. All right. Moving on here. The Lions took on the Cardinals. Cardinals looked good early. They looked like they had the offense figured out, and then they stalled, and the Lions took care of business. Most of the scoring coming in the first half, though, by both teams. Lions win 20-13 in Arizona. What'd you guys make of that game?
Yeah, I don't think that the Cardinals are the doormat that maybe people expected them to be this year. Kyler's looked very good. He's looked really good. They have, some weapons on offense. Marvin Harrison finally last couple of weeks has started to come around. I don't really trust the defense much. But again, the Lions are going through some injuries themselves. Now Laporta's got an ankle. They're dealing with some stuff themselves. Frank Ragnow, I believe, tore his pec from what I understand, which is like a major, major loss for them because that is their elite unit bread and butter. Their offensive line is tremendous. You know, again, win is a win for the Lions. The issue for the Lions, I think, and people were kind of getting on me on Twitter because I mentioned the Packers as a team right outside of my top 5 right now. They're right on the bubble of the NFL top 5, in my opinion. And I put the Vikings at 3, and people were coming at me. Oh, Lions, fucking hate the Lions. I don't hate the Lions. I just, looking at what I'm seeing right now, it's a tough spot for the Lions right now because of how good their division is. I just think right now the Vikings and the Packers are better teams right now with Jordan Love. Malik Willis, very nice that you beat the Colts. Very nice that you beat the Titans. I understand that, but I need Jordan Love against the Lions.
Well, Love is going to play.
I need Jordan Love, Joe. Before I put them.
Well, yeah, no, but he's going to play this week. I'm pretty sure against the Vikings.
Well, I know
that's going to be a telltale game.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Now, you know what? That's going to be one of those games where it's like, you know, he could have a little rust on him too because he's coming off the injury, he hasn't played. But to the Lions' point, I just, you know, Jared Goff. I like him, you know, but I don't like him that much. And I just think I'd rather have right now the way Darnold looks, man, and Jordan Love. And, you know, people are going to get on me about that. I know I'm going to hear about Jared Goff's fantastic stats in the comments. That's fine. And I do think that the Lions are a good team. They're a good team. They really are. But that win against Arizona, you know, don't discredit Arizona that much. They're decent. So, you know, take the win, move on. Who do the Lions even have this week, Tick? They have
the Lions are playing
the Seahawks. Yes, on Monday night.
Monday night. Yes.
Yeah, another Monday night doubleheader. So yeah, I mean that will be a good test for the Lions. Undefeated Seattle Seahawks.
I think the Lions got to start running the ball more. I think last year they were so good because they had Montgomery just bruising through, and then Jahmyr Gibbs.
He ran it 23 times for over 100 yards.
I'm saying though, for them to be successful, that's the recipe. Is you need to run the ball with Montgomery, and then you throw in Gibbs. He's such a dynamic playmaker that you take some of the onus off of Jared Goff. And then teams have to respect the run, and that's when you have playmakers. I mean, they have playmakers everywhere. Like Jason Williams, he looks great. Is it Jason or Jameson?
Jameson.
He looks very good. Amon-Ra is one of the best receivers in the league. And when Laporta's healthy, he's one of the best tight ends in the league. So I think they got playmakers, but I think a lot of it stems from the running game, and that's the key to winning. So the other thing too is the Cardinals. So many people took so much stock in the week before and their win against the Rams. I think we need to see more out of the Cardinals. I think that they are dynamic. I think that Kyler Murray's got tons of potential, but I don't think they're as good a team as people thought. So to me, I thought this game, the Lions were clearly going to win, cover the spread, and they did so. But, you know, the Lions, like I said, this NFC North, you said it, Mikey, it's a very interesting
gauntlet.
division.
It's a gauntlet. And to Joe's point with the running game, if I am, and he knows this, Dan Campbell knows this. If I'm Dan Campbell, I want to leverage my best asset against every team I play. And Dan Campbell's best asset with the Lions over the last couple of years is that offensive line. It's one of the strongest units in the league. You run the ball. What you do is, yes, you're racking up yards, you're tiring out the defense, but that offensive line begins to assert their will against that defense. It's demoralizing for the defense. Every down, they're picking up first down after first down after first down, down the field, keeping them on the field. And then eventually by the fourth quarter, that offensive line is just leaning on you so much that the pass rush has no gas left in it if they're even throwing the ball, or they continue to just pound it down your throat. So I agree with Joe completely. That is the recipe for the Detroit Lions. It is not Jared Goff. As good as Jared Goff's stats have been and all that, it's all fine and dandy. Thunder and lightning, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs. That's the recipe for the Lions with that offensive line for success. That's how you'll beat a Packer team. That's how you'll beat a Vikings team, not keeping Goff in the pocket, because when the Vikings let loose that pass rush, Goff's going to get swallowed up.
You know what they remind me of, Mikey? They remind me of, obviously a little bit different, but Montgomery's such a bruiser, and then Jahmyr Gibbs is so shifty. They remind me of the Buccaneers when they had All-Star and Warwick Dunn. Like one guy would just pound the ball down your throat, and then Warwick Dunn catch the ball in the backfield, shifty, make moves. And it was like, you had to be ready to face both guys. It was like, oh my God. Or the same thing was when Ahmad Bradshaw and fucking Brandon Jacobs.
Oh, Brandon, yeah.
Yep.
Jacobs would just pile drive through holes, and then Ahmad Bradshaw would fucking
who was the duo in Carolina I love too? Jonathan Stewart and
D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah. I mean,
when you have one guy who could just bruise through, and then you got another guy who's fast as lightning, it's a tough task on the defense.
It is. And again, I think that is the recipe. I mean, you see these teams that have two legitimate backs, like the Jets, even with Braylon Allen, the rookie, and Breece Hall. I mean, when you could bring, and listen, I'm not talking about a second running back who's just serviceable. I'm talking about one that could be a starter, the lead back for other teams. When you have that, that's a major advantage, man. And take advantage of it. And I think Dan Campbell knows that, like I said, and he will.
Well, that is clearly the recipe in Detroit, but I just think they are doing it. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs ran for 17. He had 17 touches.
Yeah.
Montgomery
I'm not saying
had 23.
I'm saying to sustain success.
You know what I would like to see is Gibbs get a little bit closer in touches to Montgomery. They still seem to favor him. I don't know.
Yeah, you were on this last year too. You were like, you didn't want.
I don't know. Maybe they're trying to keep him healthy, though.
Yeah, that might be it. But at some point, I mean, he's in his second year. And I mean, how many years in do we got to get before we just unleash this kid? Because he's full of talent.
He had a great touchdown this week, man.
He did. He had a great one. And I think the Lions.
He's tremendous.
It is odd how much they ran the ball. And I mean, they didn't score at all in the second half. I mean, they didn't need to. They had already done enough to win the game. But yeah, that'll be interesting to watch moving forward. Let's do two more games real quick, and then we'll get on to week 4. Chiefs played the Falcons. Chiefs finding a way to win again, man. 22-17. What'd you guys see there?
Talk about a team getting the calls, man. I applaud the Chiefs. They're a great team. For that no call pass interference on that 3rd and goal with Kyle Pitts just getting
that was bad. Yeah,
that was one of the worst. But you know what? Mahomes is a competitor. He just finds ways to win. And like Mikey said before, in the NFL, you can win games, especially on the road, and you're the Chiefs. Everybody's playing you tough. Everybody's got you circled on their calendar week in, week out. You keep finding ways to win, man. That's the sign of a team that knows what they're doing. I'm very concerned about Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I am very
put him on a milk carton.
If you have him in fantasy, if you're a Chiefs fan, they have got to find a way to get him going. Now, Rashee Rice looked unbelievable this game.
Rashee Rice
and Xavier Worthy is still very good. Schuster's, there for the odd play, but they are not getting Travis Kelce involved in the games. It's crazy.
He looks, to me, he's not cooked, but he looks sluggish.
Too many distractions, Mikey.
He looks sluggish and just like kind of nonchalant out there. I don't see that killer Travis Kelce that I'm so used to, that like took pleasure in killing teams. Like this guy used to take, and it looked visually all the time that he took enormous pleasure in like killing teams, like with those plays that would just be absolute backbreakers. He would do that all the time. I don't see that this year. I see drops. I see lackadaisical route running. And I don't know if it's become basically because he has become the biggest celebrity outside of Mahomes in the league, probably because of who he dates and all that. But they
need to break up.
In terms of the game, I thought Atlanta actually played them well. I thought Atlanta would play them tough. That was a big game for Atlanta, and they're building. Arthur Blank getting inducted into the Ring of Honor in Atlanta. It was a big night in Atlanta. Those two safeties for Atlanta, man. Bates, I mean, the interception he had on Mahomes in the end zone, and then the other interception that they should have had in the flat when Rashee Rice, I think, or it was Worthy, it was a pass into the flat off his hands, and the safety dropped it. That could have been a big turning point. I thought the Falcons played well enough, but again,
stupid coaching decisions not to kick that field goal earlier.
Yeah.
They had all 3 timeouts. They would have only needed a field goal.
Yep.
I don't understand sometimes why coaches are so uber aggressive when you're playing a team like the Chiefs.
Man. It's fucking
analytics got to be thrown out the window.
You're
throwing points away. It's the same way as like last week, the week before, when the Eagles had a chance to kick a field goal and they're trying to score a touchdown because Sirianni, it's like, well, just Take points. It's so hard to score in the NFL.
Yes, it is.
Take the points. And by the way, field goal kickers now can make anything up to almost 60 yards. So you're pretty much guaranteed 3 points. You're one field goal away from winning the game. You got 3 timeouts plus a 2-minute warning, and their defense had played well. I was really shocked at that decision, but Kirk Cousins to me in this game, Mikey, looked like a tale of 2 different guys. The first couple drives, this guy looked like he was going to torch the Chiefs. And then there was drives where it looked like he didn't know how to throw a football. It was really befuddling to me. The same thing happened against the Eagles. It looked for most of the game like he couldn't complete a first down. And then the last drive, suddenly Kirk Cousins comes out of nowhere and is just making play after play after play. They got to get more consistency, but Atlanta's a scrappy team. Darnell Mooney looks reborn, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah, he sure does. Yeah, how about all these former Bears going elsewhere and getting reborn, man?
I don't know when that happened.
It's just a testament. It's a testament to just how poorly coached this organization has been for however the Nagy administration, terrible. The Eberflus administration, just as bad almost at this point. And it just is what it is, man. I thought the Chiefs, with Cousins in regards to that, I thought the Chiefs, again, the biggest weapon that the Chiefs have that nobody talks about, everyone talks about Mahomes and everybody talks about the speed and everybody talks about Kelsey and Andy Reid. Steve Spagnuolo.
He's been doing it for a long time, man.
He is the best in-game adjusting defensive coordinator, big game D coordinator there is. He just is.
He was unbelievable with the Giants too. I mean,
always figures it out. He just always does. What an asset. I would pay that guy $1 billion to stay the defense coordinator and never take a head coach. I don't think he ever will take a head coaching job again. I think that ship sailed when he went to the Rams. That's not going to happen. But Steve Spagnuolo and that defense, the Chiefs, man, the Chiefs are the champs, and until somebody beats them, they got to be the betting favorite to win the whole thing again.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
They just do.
They seem better. They seem better than
they are
year.
better.
Minus the Kelsey thing.
I was curious to see. Now they elevated Kareem Hunt today to the 53-man roster. Carson Steele to me didn't look terrible.
Kareem Hunt's
making
a comeback
on the 53-man.
Wow.
Yeah. And,
this guy refuses to stay down.
They're gonna get Pacheco back probably around week 9 or week 10, which will be massive for them because I do think that
Steele ran the ball well.
Force.
Yeah, he did.
You know why? Because they're a good team. Yeah. And when these teams that could scheme well and have good offensive lines, you could plug a guy back there and they look good. It's just, these offensive linemen, remember after the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, they lost all those offensive linemen and they just bring in new ones who are just all of a sudden, Pro Bowlers and all.
Yeah. How did they do that, man?
Just great organizations. Just great organizations, man. But you know what? Your GM is a great drafter too. Your issue more so is a little bit more like mine. I just don't think I think Sirianni's a clown. I just think he's a clown.
Yeah, I also don't think he does anything. I don't think he touches the defense. I don't think he touches the offense. I think he considers himself a culture guy. He brings the morale. He's got the great before game speech and the great, if we won, the rah-rah speech, or if we lost, hey, we're going to come back next week. Fire. He's the culture guy.
Would you take Doug Peterson back today?
On a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. In an absolute.
You see what he's doing over there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, but he's got a bust quarterback.
Yeah, he's got a bust quarterback.
You know who the Eagles should promote him to head coach?
Dom.
Big Dom.
That guy's a clown. That guy's a clown.
Great
that
name,
guy
though.
would just be yet another culture guy. And you know what? That's part of the culture. Really elevating Dom to that
they
level.
made Big Dom like a legitimate thing in Philly, man.
Yeah,
he's like a thing. Like he's basically like Howie Roseman now. He's like the GM basically.
He's you know what? Well, he's a stew knot, man. That is what Sirianni is. He's a stew knot, man.
He's a stew knot.
All right, let's move on. We'll do one more game. Let's do Monday night. We're going to pass over the Jags and the Bills. I mean, we know the story there. The Bills
blowout.
They're just rolling, and the Jags.
Mikey
we touched
V's
on it
game
earlier.
of the week.
Blowout, and it was a hell of a win.
Let me tell you something, man. I don't want to fall into the trap again of jumping all over the Bills, but this Bills team, man, I'm sorry. I don't want to throw Steph Diggs under the bus or Gabe Davis under the bus. But man, oh man, does Allen look a lot more comfortable not worrying about how many guys he's got to throw the ball to. He's just throwing guys open. He's
James
throwing
Cook
guys
looks
open.
tremendous too.
He looks sharp as attack. The Bills' offensive line is a bulldozing fucking force to be reckoned with. James Cook looks like he's shot out of a fucking cannon. The defense is all over the field, and they played without a couple of their good defenders last night too. Their D tackles inside, Ed Oliver. They stopped the run. The back end looks strong. Fucking Bills Mafia was rocking. The Bills, to me, right now, as it stands today, are the best team in the NFL right now. I'm not going to say they're going to win the whole thing.
Wow.
Eye test to me right now, eye test ticket, they're the most complete, best team in the NFL as it stands today. I would take them in a game betting over any team in a regular season game.
Wow.
Playoffs, maybe a different story, but right now, Bills are the number one team in the league to me.
Yeah, they haven't beat too many good teams, but they are, when they do beat them, they're steamrolling, man.
Yes.
All right, but let's move on to the next game, which I think was a little bit more compelling, and a couple storylines there. The Commanders went into Cincinnati. Cincinnati can't figure anything out right now. They moved to 0-3. The Commanders win that game 38-33. Joe, what'd you see out of your boy Jaden Daniels down there, man?
Guy looked unbelievable, man. I don't normally call him much, and I'm normally wrong about a lot of stuff. I'm not a huge college football guy. I said out of all the quarterbacks coming out of this last, draft class, I said Jaden Daniels was one of the guys to watch because he looked he was obviously unbelievable with LSU, but last night he looked like
unbelievable with Arizona State.
Yeah, but he looked the most pro ready.
You also love yourself some Bo Nix.
I do, and he won this week. He did win this week.
He did. He won. Yes, he did.
He looked good, actually.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Joey.
No, we're fine. I got a little excited and thing with
you mentioned Bo Nix and Joe's head exploded.
I just went nuts. Hey, listen, he got a big win this week. Big win this week.
Yes, he did.
Went into an undefeated Tampa Bay team. By the way, they blew the doors off that team. They did Tampa Bay looked pretty shitty after that.
How many years? How many years are we going to fall into the Baker Mayfield trap, dog? How many years before we realize what this guy is? Friend of the program. Great guy.
Oh, we love him. Yeah.
Great guy.
Jaden Daniels, however,
he could be a friend of the program.
I'd love him to be a friend of the program. That guy looks like he's set for success for a long time. He can do it all, man. I was watching him run the ball, throw on the run. They had Eckler go. Now Eckler got hurt with the concussion.
Of course he did. Another guy.
He was running the ball very well. Yes. Robinson still looked good. Terry McLaurin, by the way, let's just say this. I know Ticket has takes. He's a big DJ Moore guy and a big Terry McLaurin guy.
That's right.
Terry McLaurin, I think, is a top 10 receiver in the league without a question.
I agree. Yeah.
Without a question. If you gave him the likes of like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen, I think Terry McLaurin's a top 5 receiver in the league. He can play. He can ball out every fucking game.
I agree completely.
Look at the guys he's had throwing.
Yeah, I know. He's been dying in Washington.
All these guys, he's unbelievable.
I agree.
The Commanders, they might have something there.
And also, I had forgotten that Zach Ertz was still around. I didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
He showed up for the game, apparently.
He pops out of nowhere. He's like you don't even know where he's coming. Couple of things about that game last night. Cincinnati in a position where that was a must-win game for the Bengals. You're at home. You have the $50 million, $60 million a year quarterback in Joe Burrow. You have your home crowd. You're 0-2. Teams that are 0-3 don't make the playoffs. It's just basically almost a cemented fact in the NFL. You have Jamar Chase. You got T. Higgins back for this game. Offense wasn't really an issue too much. Though, the Washington defense, I give them a little credit, but the Bengals in the second half, they were able to move the ball. They moved the ball in the first half too. They wasn't like they were just bogging down in the red area, but they were getting their field goals. McPherson stinks, by the way. He's a loser.
He misses kicks every game.
He misses
He's
kicks.
overrated.
He stinks.
Mikey's had a problem with him for a long time.
He busted. He busted like I would have went 5 for 5 week one like 2 years ago, and he shanked Anyway, I digress. Bengals defense, Lou Anarumo, his defense, man. Lou, sweet Lou. That was one of the worst defensive performances and I'm not taking a single thing. Please don't pretzel this into me taking anything away from Jaden Daniels. I saw Jaden Daniels make about 3 throws that I don't know how many guys in the league could make those throws. Very few could make those throws, like 3 elite. The touchdown to McLaurin, the bomb to McLaurin, and then there was a 3rd down conversion where he rolled out and zipped it across his body. 3 throws that were absolute top tier, elite veteran quarterback throws. Incredible. But the Bengals defense was as bad of a defense as I've seen in the NFL in a long time. They could not stop a nosebleed. It's concerning. Yeah. Here's my only concern with Jaden Daniels. Washington fans, I think you should be extremely excited. Jaden Daniels has to slide. He cannot, at his size, take any of the kind of hits. He took a couple last night, and I was like, oh, shit. It's very early in the season. He's not feeling it yet, but it's a scientific fact. The guys who do that, their bodies eventually, Cam Newton's broke down, RG3's broke down, and I'm sure some Commander fans who remember RG3's rookie year and how he started. Do not let this kid ruin his career by running the ball too much because he's too small. He's going to get hurt. He cannot take hits from these dudes that are that like double his size. If he cleans that up, and I'm not saying, I know it's an aspect of his game. I get that. I appreciate that. But something has to be done to help this kid slide and not take these hits. If he does that, he's going to be extremely, extremely good for them for a long time because he certainly looked incredible last night. Hats off to him and the Commanders.
Yeah, Bengals are a fucking mess on the other end there.
Oh,
and they
man.
they're staring down the barrel of a Andy Dalton revenge game next week. They could very easily go 0-4.
And they're in one of the toughest divisions in the AFC.
Yep.
With the
absolutely.
Ravens, the Ravens, their record certainly doesn't show it, but the Ravens are a top tier team, and the Steelers are playing like one too. The Bengals, man, that was, like Mikey said, a must-win game. You, in front of your fans, you lose. I mean, do you think Joe Burrow is hurt? Do you think he's still hurt?
Yeah, he threw 3 touchdowns. I thought he looked good. I thought he was fine. Again, the Bengals O-line still isn't great. The run game I thought wasn't bad. Zach Moss, I thought, had a couple really nice. I thought that they moved the ball well. The problem was that the defense could not The defense gave up a score on every drive. They gave up a score every drive. They couldn't get a single stop.
Bob had the Commanders money line. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know how before that he had to be in the clouds.
He had to be drunk. Yeah, I mean, there's no way that you could make that conscious decision. If he did, he's one of the sharpest bets I've ever seen.
$615 3-team parlay. Chiefs with the points. Bills with the points, and Commanders money line.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't hedge.
Yeah, I'll say this. That game in particular, I didn't want to touch in terms of the spread because I could see the Bengals. I'm like, I think they're going to win the game, but I don't think they're going to cover. But on the other hand, I'm like, oh, if they did, whatever. So I stood away from that and went with a prop instead. But that's an incredible call, man. And I thought surprised.
No way they're going 0-3 in front of their home fans against Commanders.
That's as bad of a
He
loss
takes a lot of chances with betting, and if you do it long enough, man, some of them are going to hit.
You throw shit at the wall long enough, it's going to stick.
Sure. Well, one of the few bright spots from that game for the Bengals was that Jamar Chase does have a pulse, so that was good to see. They got him
awesome.
going.
Yeah. And you know why? The Bengals could have made that game a little more interesting. Game could have been closer, and it could have been really like one of the better games we've ever seen if they had just closed the deal inside the red zone in the first half. Those couple times they had to settle for a field goal and a field goal miss from McPherson because they were knocking on the door. They were inside the Commander 22 times, and they just came up empty both times with touchdowns. So if that goes a different way, the game may have been an epic game. As it was Jaden Daniels' coming out party.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to week 4 here. Let's start with the Thursday night game. We got the Cowboys playing the Giants in MetLife. Cowboys are favored by 6 points, over under 44.5. Who do you boys like there?
I lean Giants also. And the Cowboys have owned the Giants. This feels like maybe, is this the get right spot for Dallas? If there ever was one, this would be it because they've owned the Giants. But I've liked what I've seen out, as crazy as that sounds. I kind of like what I've seen out of the Giants the past 2 weeks. They should have beat the Commanders. That was a debacle. And then they come out and they beat the Browns in Cleveland this past week. Granted, they almost gave that away, but Malik Neighbors, you want to talk about a guy who looks like a top 5 receiver in the league already?
Yeah,
Malik Neighbors is that
And
guy.
that's with Daniel Jones throwing him the ball.
And you know what? Danny Dimes started off pretty hot last week.
He did.
He's got to maintain it. I like the Giants D to get after Dak a little bit in this game. I don't think the Cowboys will be able to run too much on the Giants. And the Giants will lean on the defense. That's a lot of points, man. Give me the home dog with the 6. I'll take that.
I'm taking the Giants too. The Dallas defense the last 2 weeks, like Mikey said, has shown me nothing that I'm willing to give 6.5. It was 6.5 pop.
Yeah, 6.
I see six
I mean,
live right now. Yeah.
6 is still, that's a lot of points.
How about you tease that up to you making an alt line of like 7.5? You're not going to pay that much juice, and then you really have a nice.
That's a nice little
fuzzy feeling.
A nice little run. Yeah.
Give
me the Giants.
Yeah, and the way the Dallas defense in general has been, but certainly their rushing defense too. I mean, Singletary hasn't been that bad either for the New York Giants.
He was great last week.
Yeah, I'd expect him to have a decent week. I mean, I think we gotta. I think I gotta take the Giants too, man. Give me the points.
That's a triumvirate pick.
That's a triumvirate pick. Cowboys just have shown no signs of life, and I can't get on board until they do. I mean, something. I mean, maybe if they build on that fourth quarter they had against the Ravens. I mean, they tried to storm back, but other than that, it's been abysmal sledding for them. Let's move on to Sunday here. Let's get into the 1:00 games. The Rams are playing the Bears. The Bears are a 2.5-point favorite, over under 40.5. We're in Soldier Field.
I gotta go Rams. The Rams.
I don't blame you.
Here's the thing. The Rams have looked like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. 2 weeks ago, they looked like the worst team in the NFL. And that's when I took them to beat Arizona, because I thought that we were going to give a performance like we got last week, where actually Matthew Stafford looked very capable, and they beat the 49ers. So they're coming off a game like that. The Bears just had no offense, Mikey, just an awful game against the Colts.
No, I know.
You're giving me, it's plus 2.5 for the Rams.
Yeah.
I almost think that I might even take the Rams money line. I'll take the
points. You fell into that trap already.
At that point, you probably should.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're getting under a field goal. You might almost
the plus 2.5 actually is plus money. So maybe it's plus 102. The money line's plus 120.
Maybe buy the hook and bring it to a field goal.
Yeah. I'll take the Bears only because I think that if the Bears lose this game at home to a Rams team that's absolutely decimated on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be a very, very, very ugly weekend in Chicago. The questions are already starting, as ridiculous as it is. We're only 3 weeks into this poor kid's career, and the narratives are already out there. And the Jaden Daniels game doesn't help his cause, because now the narrative is,
I know.
So it's just a terrible spot for Caleb to be in right now. I think the Bears get a win at home. Give me the Bears minus the 2.5. I feel like it's a very much a winnable game for them. And almost a must-win game for them. Their first game against an NFC opponent. So let's see what they do, because this one matters.
How about Matty Staff, man? How about this guy?
Pop, you were out on him last week.
I know.
He was.
He's definitely got this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde aspect of it. I think that's where he's at in his career now. I think he's going to go out and show you sparks of the old guy, but I think you're often going to get a guy who just can't move the football too. He was always kind of like that a little bit, like where he'd go out and look like the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, and then he'd throw just the dumbest 4 interceptions you've ever seen in your entire life. So I think as he gets older, we're just going to be seeing more and more of that. That being said, I think the Bears got to win this game, and I think at home I'd like to think they find a way to do it, man. Like Mikey said, the Rams have taken a big old beating on offense, and I'd like to think the Bears can take care of business here. Give me the Bears minus 2.5. I kind of like the under 40.5 as well, but I'm just going to take the minus 2.5. Moving on.
That's a good play.
Moving on.
Bears game to take the under.
Yeah.
Is a good play, to be honest. I took that as my game of the week last week, and it soared under.
Yeah. What was the final?
Of the Bears game?
Yeah.
Pull it up here.
21.
Because they scored it.
16.
They scored again late. Yeah. So that was what?
Yeah, but it was
37 points. What was it? 43 and a half, Joe?
43 and a half. But
So
they
one more
scored
touchdown.
late.
One more touchdown would have done it. So you should actually thank the Bears because they had first and goal from the 1 and they couldn't score in the first half.
There
Or
was
it would have went over.
By the way, there was 20 points scored in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I know.
20 points.
Yeah, I know.
That game was
I know.
cruising.
I know.
Well, that was kind of like our Minnesota under too. That
I
ended up being a
understand,
fucking sweat job when it
Yeah.
never should have been.
A lot of people told me to go fuck myself with that under. Felt good to hit that under.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't.
It was
like
nice because I thought we were gonna get hosed at the end there.
Are these just voiceless members or who are
I
they?
heard a lot of chatter. Heard a lot of chatter about
Okay.
that under tick. People didn't like it.
Well, I guess they found their voice then, Mikey.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess
All
they
right.
also don't like winners.
Exactly. It was a winner. It was a winner. What's your
We
record
win-
this season so
we,
far, Mike?
We
NFL
win,
Mikey's been great.
we
Yeah.
win together. We win together, boys.
What's your record, Mikey, for the NFL this season?
13-8 with 2 parlays.
Wow. Okay.
Last
Head on
week,
over-
I mean, this week was 6-1 this week NFL. So this was a big week.
Head on over to the Only Subs. Mikey's handing out winners. Doesn't cost you much.
No, it doesn't.
All right, let's move on here. The Eagles are playing the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, Raymond James Stadium. Eagles are favored by 2.5 points, over under 44.5. Gentlemen, who do you like?
Eagles could be favored by 12.5. I'd take the Eagles.
I'm
No.
taking the Eagles.
No. I'm taking the Eagles. Field goal game against the.
The
This is a
Bucks
game-
always fuck me when I go against
know.
them. And then it's like, and then the next week I don't touch the game and I'm like, I would take the spread against them again and they get decimated. They're like they're the kings of ruining fucking parlays and like games that look like they're going to be such easy wins. So like for that reason, I want to take the Bucks for that reason, but I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they got to run Saquon. What is Saquon's rush? Like, I don't know what his rushing, like what his prop is. I would try to take it over though. I think they're going to run him to the
I don't even
ground.
think they have the props. Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, they probably do.
Oh no, they don't. They don't have the rushing props. I see passing and defense special teams. I do not see rushing props yet. I don't know.
Yeah, because they're trying to figure out how much Saquon's going to get.
Yeah. I mean, the player props are very, very limited right now. So
Yeah, I'll take the Eagles.
All right. I for
Happy
everything that
taking
you
them.
for every reason you just said, Joe, less about the Eagles and more about the Bucks. That made me want to take the Bucks too. It feels like this is a weekend where they're going to spoil things. But I just can't do it. I mean, give me the Eagles and minus the 2.5. I also like the under in that game too. Minus under 44.5. I like the under a whole lot because I just don't think that Eagles offense can move the ball, and Lord knows Baker's a travesty. So yeah, you know what? Give me the under too. Give me the under. Make that my game of the week. The under 44.5 in this game, Michael. Michael, give me the
why
under.
are you saying it to me? Why are you saying?
Because
saying it to me?
you're cackling over there.
No, I just it's so funny. It's just so funny. He starts talking. He was talking in one direction. Now it's the game of the week for him. It's just funny. It's just funny.
It's the game of the week, 44.5
week.
under. Okay.
By the way, you get 45. That's what it is at DraftKings. So that's what you're getting.
Oh!
Give me the 45, Mr. Anderson. Give me the 45.
45.
Yeah, there we go.
Under
Okay.
45 minus 112.
Okay. That's decent value.
Yeah, very. It's even
Yeah.
odds, basically.
All right, moving on here. Saints, Falcons. Falcons are favored by 1.5 points, over under 42.5. We are in Atlanta for this one. Gentlemen, who do you like?
Yeah, I don't
It's a
like this
weird
game.
game.
Yeah, it's a divisional game.
That line is weird.
It is a weird game, you know. And the home team, I always like the home teams in these games in the NFC South, NFC South dome games like this. Saints, you know, they need to bounce back after last week, you know, motivation, blah 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 blah. But Atlanta, bitter taste in their mouth after the loss to the Chiefs. I just think Atlanta, man, like Bijan Robinson, and I don't know. I think Atlanta's the better team. I just think Atlanta's the better team. I know what the Saints did the first 2 weeks. I know the Falcons are 1-2. The Saints are 2-1. Give me Atlanta minus the 1.5. Give me Atlanta minus the 1.5. I'll take that as a home team only laying basically a pick 'em almost. I'll take Atlanta.
I don't disagree with you, Mikey, but I just haven't seen consistency yet out of Kirk Cousins to make me go and ride with him. And I do think that that Saints defense is really good. And I think they're going to cause some havoc and some turnovers, enough so that I think that they can go ahead and win the game. I'll take the Saints money line.
Now that Joe has taken the Saints money line, we know what happens on this show when Joe picks the Saints. Okay. They constantly fuck him. So with that being said, give me the Atlanta Falcons -1.5 as my game of the week. Atlanta Falcons -1.5 is my game of the week. Only because Joe can't win with the Saints on this show. It's just the thing. Now Joe's going to come back next week. He's going to motherfuck the Saints up and down the row, which is what we want to see, honestly. That's the Joe we love, is when he
I mean, I
hates the
hope you
Saints.
win. I want you to win your game of the week.
Yes, that's right. That's
and
right.
you know what? I've never been shy away from bashing Derek Carr on this show.
That's
so
correct also.
I will feel really bad if I ever meet him, because he seems like a legitimately good human being.
Great guy.
And you know,
Seems
and
like.
it's nothing personal, but I have people DMing me all the time. Why do you hate the Saints? Why do you hate the Saints? Why do you hate I don't hate the Saints. I can't get behind this guy. And for those reasons, Mikey, you'll probably win.
And for those reasons,
I'm out.
I'm out.
I've been out a long time on that guy.
Yeah, you have. And you know what? He doesn't have much to show for it. So
Before
it seems like
that-
you're coming out.
Before that, Pop, it was all Trevor Lawrence hate, and now that's
It
come to full
was.
fruition.
It was. And it was the Falcons as a whole team for a while, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But give me the Falcons too. I like the Falcons as well, mainly just because of the Joe money line thing. All right, moving on here. We got the Vikings heading to Lambeau playing the Packers.
Wow.
Packers are favored by 2.5 points.
Oh,
Over under 43.5.
Yeah.
That's a trap game.
You
Could
get the
be.
Vikings outdoors, which is, always, that could be always potentially interesting, I suppose.
Everyone and their mother is going to bet the Vikings.
I can't believe the
I don't-
Vikings are an underdog. I
Plus
really,
2.5.
I really can't believe that the Vikings are an underdog.
And for those reasons, I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
should.
correct play. Really, that's the correct play.
Jordan Love coming back, one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league. Team
He's
looks like-
100% playing, Joe.
I think so, Mikey. Hold on. Let me just pull it up before I give out false information.
Please do.
Let me just see here.
That's a
You
quick
don't wanna-
turnaround if he's coming back already.
You don't wanna-
He's
you-
questionable.
you don't want to get Penix to Metcalf, Joe.
No,
It's not a
I
good, not a good
don't.
place to be, man.
He's questionable, but I do think he was questionable to come back this week. I think he plays this week. He was a game time decision. Let me look it up. Hold on.
Even if he doesn't, Malik has looked pretty fucking good.
No, not against that defense.
No,
Dude, not against that defense, bro. I'm sorry. Again, the Titans and the
Saying.
Colts. I'm saying this right now. I wanted to say this before. The Jordan Love injury could not have happened at a better time in terms of the teams that they got to play afterwards. Colts, Titans, ideal for Malik Willis. And he did his job. He did his job and then some, winning those two games. Hats off to him, but you do not want to throw Malik Willis at this Vikings defense.
he was
bro.
participating
You do
in
not.
team drills last week. I think they sat him out for cautionary. They're saying he's going to do everything he can to be out there. I can't imagine, Mikey, if he can go against the Vikings, such a
Yeah, no,
huge
they
divisional
need him to
game.
go.
I think something would have to matriculate where he's really not ready to play for them to go to Willis in this game. I said it last week. I said they're going to play Willis. They're going to rest him one more week. I would imagine he plays. And listen, the Packers have looked really good on defense. They're playing in Lambeau, which is a great place to play for them. I'll take the Packers, but I'll be honest, if I looked at the line before looking at it, I would have thought the Vikings would have been favored.
Do you think this line's going to change if they officially announce that Jordan Love's
Yes.
starting? You think they're going to be favored by even more points?
Yeah, they have to be.
Well, I know, but doesn't that just seem crazy?
Yeah, I listen,
It's crazy. I'll be the first to say it.
I got to
Yeah.
take Minnesota with the points only because I just think I just think they're good. I think they're really good, and their defense again.
It's
I
a
don't-
correct play, Mikey.
I don't like the Vikings. I don't like to pick the Vikings, but I'm impressed by the Vikings. I'm just impressed. I was the defense is just, they're sacking the quarterback at an insane rate, and I worry, is Love like going to be 100% on that MCL? Like, I doubt it. And the thing about Jordan Love that could be his blessing is that he gets rid of the ball so fast that the blitz may not get to him. And if it doesn't, then the Packers will win that game. But if the blitz does get to him, I worry about him on an MCL that I know can't possibly be 100%.
7 or 8 sacks last week, the most they've had since I think a game we played against you, Mikey, in like 2012 since the Bears. The Packers defense looks fucking good. And by the way, Mikey, you threw some shade at Jair Alexander a couple weeks ago. I understand he's a clown, but this is now what, 3 picks on the season, a pick 6 this last week.
Yeah.
He is definitely a great player. He is a clown. I will give you that. But I don't think he's nothing to look over, to mill over.
Mikey's not sold yet, man.
No, I don't know. I mean, he's got to be one of the better corners in the league.
All right. I think the Packers are an exceptional football team. I mean,
exceptional.
I do. I think they're, especially when Jordan Love's there, I really like them.
I agree. A healthy Jordan Love.
Sure. That's the big question of this game. I'm gonna rock with Joe and say that he is gonna play, and I'm gonna take the Green Bay Packers -2.5. I really think they're the best football team in that division, and like we've already established, it's a great division. So
you know what's dangerous about Green Bay is you don't know which receiver in any week is going to go off. It could be Dobbs one week, it could be Watson another week.
I really like Reed a lot.
Jaden Reed looked like he could be the number one guy. Dontavius Wicks looks like he could do, like they could just they have guys who can just make plays. They don't have like a one go-to guy.
Yeah, I like Reed a lot. I mean, I like all those guys. I think Reed's very good player. So give me the Packers -2.5. Moving on here, we've got the Broncos heading to New York to play the Jets at MetLife. Jets are favored by 7.5 points, over under 38.5. Gentlemen, who do we like there?
The Jets. Again, if Aaron Rodgers plays that way, listen, Bo Nix, nice game against Tampa, Sean Payton, nice game, but coming to MetLife, playing this defense, Robert Saleh, they're going to be up for them. They're going to confuse him. I think they're going to have a lot of success against the Denver offense. And I think it's going to be a similar situation to what you saw against the Patriots. I really do. I think you're going to see Rodgers do the same kind of things. And I think you're going to see the Jets defense shut down what they will make a one-dimensional offense. Bo Nix is not prepared to play this defense, I don't think. Now, people will say, oh, well, Tampa's got the Jets. I just think the Jets are a different animal. Give me the Jets minus, and that's a lot of lumber too. 7.5's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking wood, but I'll take the Jets -7.5.
Joey D?
I really like Bo Nix, but I like Aaron Rodgers a lot more.
Yeah, you do.
And for those reasons, I'll take the New York Jets.
Yeah.
I don't need to say anything more.
Make it triumvirate, dog. I think so too. I mean,
nice.
Yeah, give me the Jets -7.5. It's a lot, but all right, moving on here. Let's go to the revenge game. Let's go to the Andy Dalton revenge game. Bengals heading into Carolina, playing at Bank of America Stadium. Bengals are favored again, man. They're favored again. 4.5 points, over under 48.5. What do you guys like there?
This will be the week that the Bengals cover. This will be the week why the Bengals cover, because everyone's going to take I feel like Carolina is going to be a trendy pick this week.
Sure.
I just feel like the despondent Bengals who couldn't stop anybody, they're coming into Carolina, and the revenge game for Dalton and how good he looked. And this has to be it for the Bengals. This has to be it. It just has to be, right? Right, Dick? I don't know. It's got to be. Give me the Bengals.
Joe, does it have to be?
What's the how many points are they getting?
4.5.
4.5.
That's I don't know, Mike. I think a lot of people are going to think exactly how you think and think the Bengals are due. I'm going to take the Panthers. This Bengals defense, the Bengals defense looks fucking horrible, man.
Terrible.
They look horrible.
Terrible.
I mean, they look like they couldn't stop a nosebleed. And it's Dalton's still capable enough. The Bengals have not shown me anything that I'm going to ride them. Give me the Panthers. I can't believe I'm taking them, but give me the Panthers with the points.
I'm going to take the Panthers too for the same reason, Joe. I mean, just that defense was so atrocious. And Andy Dalton really stepped up and made some great plays, man. We talked about that one throw to Thielen. I hope he's all right, by the way. But that was probably the best throw of the week. It was incredible. So, and if you get Chuba Hubbard running downhill like he did last week, I think the Panthers can cover this, man.
I think the Panthers can put up enough points that they kind of hang.
Yeah, me too. So give me the Panthers plus 4.5 as well. Let's move on to the Steelers. The 3-0 Steelers taking on the Colts. Anthony Richardson at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy. Pittsburgh is favored by 1.5 points, over under 40.5.
Tricky line.
Not to me. Pittsburgh. I think Fields is going to have a field day against this defense. I think he's going to run roughshod on this. This defense stinks, man. They stink. And Anthony Richardson against this Pittsburgh defense. Give me Pittsburgh. And Joe, I agree. The line is fishy. The line is, I think this should be Pittsburgh minus 3.
You would think, yeah, you would think
Pittsburgh
so.
minus 3, minus 3.5. It feels like a gift. Give me Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's normally what scares you.
I know. Fuck that. Anthony Richardson. I saw it with my own eyes. I watched every snap. He
looked terrible against the Packers.
Not against this defense. Nope. Nope.
What's the over-under, Tick?
Hang on.
40.
The under is
40.
Plug there for a minute.
You might be best pressed to play the under.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh games are great to play unders, and the way that, like Mikey said, the Colts are playing right now, this is an under game for me. If I had to take a team, I mean, you have to take Pittsburgh. I don't know. You would think that the defense alone for Pittsburgh might be able to cover this game, like just by takeaways or whatnot. I think TJ Watt might have 3 sacks in this game.
Yeah, and they're not going to. The Colts are not going to be able to run the ball. Yeah,
man, it hasn't been since Ohio State that we could say something like Fields is going to have a field day with that defense. It's been a long time since we've been able to talk about Justin Fields in such a way, but I do agree with it. I think that Colts team, talk about a lack of identity, man. That team needs to do some soul searching themselves. They are in a bad way. Quarterback play, defensive play. I think the Steelers have a lot of fun there, and I think they cover pretty easily. So give me the Steelers to cover 1.5. Moving to the 4:00 games, we got the Commanders heading to Arizona. Arizona's a 3-point favorite, over under 50.5. They think it's going to be a big scoring game. Gentlemen, who do you like?
What game was that, Tick?
It was Washington
at Arizona.
Well, I like the over. I like a lot of points in that game, 50.5. Yeah. Now Washington is being asked to go out to the desert on a short week. People are going to see that 3.5 and they're going to say, well, Washington just destroyed the Bengals in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I agree.
Give me the Arizona Cardinals at plus 100. So dead even money, minus 3.5. Maybe alt line that down to 3 if you're not comfortable, because you're not going to pay anything on it. 3.5 Arizona.
I like it, Mikey. I think a lot of people are going to overreact. I bet you a lot of people have not watched a full Commanders game this year until they played in prime time and they saw Jaden Daniels just going off, and everybody and their mother is going to say, well, surely they went into, Cincinnati and beat the Bengals handedly. Right. They could beat Kyler Murray. This Arizona team is scrappy. I will say that. They played the Bills in Buffalo the first week, very tough. And Buffalo had to really take control of the second half. They just decimated the Rams in week 2. And you know what? They played a good Detroit Lions team. So I think that they're good enough. Give me the Arizona Cardinals. I think they cover.
I like the Cardinals as well. Give me the Cardinals minus the 3. Moving on here, we got the Browns, team we haven't talked too much about this year. They're playing the Raiders. They're heading to Las Vegas. Vegas is favored by a point.
What an ugly game.
Over under 37.5, man. Gentlemen, who do you like there? Nothing, Mikey.
The Browns.
All right.
Browns +1.
The Raiders are in disarray.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, and I just Minshew looked so terrible last week. I think against that defense, but you know what, Myles Garrett, I don't know what his status is, so could be interesting. But I still think Browns are the better team on paper. Give me the Browns.
Joey D.
I would take the Browns as well. I think the Raiders, they got some soul searching to do right now, and they looked fucking awful.
If I said to you preseason this game was a pick 'em, who would you pick? The answer everyone would say
the Browns.
would be
Yeah,
the
the Browns.
Yeah.
Give me the Browns as well. Let's move on to Sunday night. Bills are heading to Baltimore to play the Ravens.
Great game.
Ravens are favored by 2.5 points, over under 46.5. This should be a great game. Gentlemen, who do you like?
It's my game of the week. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens, and I think they're going to win by like a touchdown. I think the Bills are very good. I think they've played some very not good teams so far. And I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to run the fucking football, and they're going to dominate time of possession, and they're going to take Josh Allen out of it. And I also think everybody's going to bet the Bills. And I think the Ravens are a very, very good football team. I think their record doesn't show it. They lost to the Chiefs the first week by a toe. They could easily be 2-1. The second week, they should have beaten the Raiders. The fact they lost that game is preposterous. They looked great against the Cowboys. If they can put that kind of product out for a whole game, I think they cover. I'm going to take the Ravens -2.5 as my game of the week.
Wow. All right.
I'm gonna switch my game of the week. Is that allowed?
Sure. Who cares?
All right. Yeah.
Oh, you're off the Saints.
Yeah, I'm all, yeah.
Off the Falcons.
Yeah. Because I think this is better for the audience. I'm going to take my game of the week.
You're gonna take the Bills.
It'll be the Bills, and it's the Bills money line. I think the Bills will win the game outright.
Wow.
I understand what Joe's saying about running the ball. I just don't think that it'll be easy. I think the Bills to me are too complete. I think they're too complete. I think they're every phase. They're just really, really good. And I think they're going to be up for that game in Baltimore. Certainly that place is that's going to be electric.
Rocking.
It's going to be electric. No question.
Harbaugh's going to have that team ready to play.
He is. Bills. Close game.
Wow. So we're on opposite ends, both with the game of the week.
Yeah, that's exciting.
This is crazy.
And it's going to be a great game anyway. So
yes.
I'm going to stay out of this whole thing anyway. I'm going to go with the over 46.5.
Yeah.
Tick doesn't want to be involved.
I don't want any part of this. I don't want to be. I don't want to be. Well, you know what? I really
you're not allowed
like
to do that. You have to pick the spread unless it's your game of the week. Then you could take the over under if it's your game of the week.
Who would you just take?
I took an under earlier.
Yeah, who would you take, Tick?
All right. You both don't want me to say your team. I like the Bills.
Yeah, the team.
But I think it's going to be a really close game and could be won by a
close.
field goal on either way. That's why I like the over, even regardless.
I wouldn't
of
listen. If the Ravens win, I would not be surprised. I'm heavy on the Ravens for futures all this year, so I'm not. But just man, oh man, like I know the Bills haven't played anybody great, but man, they did go on the road to Miami when Tua was still playing and
Miami
that team.
By the way, if we do a who's a problem, if we do that, that's
problem.
a whole load of shit that needs to be uncovered.
It's a problem.
All right, well, let's move on to that game. Let's go to Monday night, the first game of a doubleheader. Titans are heading to Miami. Miami, it's a pick 'em. Miami's favored by 1, over under 36.5.
Man, oh man, how the mighty have fallen.
Let me tell you something about Miami right now, okay? I took Miami in every parlay in everything I had last week. I thought they were going to come out and
with Skylar Thompson.
Yes, I thought that they were going to play great. And by the way, they had every potential opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Let me tell you, this Mike McDaniels, this guy gets praised as being a fucking genius, changing the game, all these prodigy. I've heard all these things. This guy's a fucking clown, bro. This guy has, you want to talk about an undisciplined team? This team shouldn't have been on the football field. I don't know if you watched the game, Mikey. They were taking penalty after penalty.
That's
after
true.
The play was being started. Guys were stopping on the field. He had no control over that team. And I get it. Your starting quarterback is out. I get it. But when you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane and you can't even muster a first down, this team is pathetic. They are bad. They are fucking bad. And now that Tua is gone, they're going to be bottom of the barrel. Tennessee is winning this game. They're winning this game handily. Miami looked awful last.
Is it confirmed? Is it going to be Skylar Thompson again, or is there another backup?
He got busted up.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be Snoop.
No, it was Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle is their backup.
No.
I watched the game, Mikey. This team is done. Normally, Miami comes out of the gates early on in the year. That's their season. They're starting out.
It's going to be Tyler Huntley. I think it's going to be Tyler Huntley.
Well, he didn't play last week. He didn't play last week. I don't know. Maybe Tim Boyle was terrible.
Tyler Huntley plays, man. Guy's going to be like,
he was the backup for Lamar, right?
Guy's going to be like,
going
to be the Willie Beeman of Miami, and he's going to Wally Pip Tua Tagovailoa. He's going to Wally Pip him. Tyler Huntley, the Dolphins -1. Willie Beeman.
I also like the Dolphins -1, man. If Huntley's the guy, I was going to go with Tennessee.
Yep.
If Huntley's going to be the guy,
yeah, I think it's going to be
that
Huntley. Yeah.
Tennessee stinks, man. They're a
Will
tough
Levis
team.
is a clown, dog.
He's a tough
His
guy
best
to
win of
watch.
his career, though, was against the Dolphins last year. That was like his best win.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. Will Levis stinks. Tyler Huntley, I really like him. Every time he came in to fill in for Lamar, I always liked what I saw. I mean, clearly he wasn't Lamar, but he was very serviceable as a backup, and you got to imagine he's going to be better than Skylar Thompson was. So give me the Dolphins -1 as well. And for our last game, the second game of the doubleheader here on Monday night, Seahawks are heading to Detroit, Ford Field. Lions are favored by 3.5 points, over under 47.5.
I like the Lions. Here. I think the Seahawks are good, but I think the Lions are a better team. Give me the Lions.
Okay. Mikey?
You know, the Seahawks, they have a tendency to make up some road magic on primetime games. I feel like they sometimes they have a little magic to them on road game prime times. Monday night is 3.5. Give me Seattle +3.5. I think they could cover that number. I think the Lions could win the game, but I like the hook there. Give me Seattle.
Yeah, I like the way Seattle's been playing football too. But Geno Smith, man, he looks very serviceable, man.
The Mountaineer.
The Mountaineer, man. I love him. I'm shocked that this is where his
You
career
hated
has
him for
gone.
a long time, Pop.
Well, I didn't hate him. I just didn't think from what I saw when he was at West Virginia that he was going to be a good pro. And then he backed up Russ forever. I was like, I guess this is his career, and now he's been reborn as a starter for a couple of years now. So
good for him.
And he's looked good. Good for him. I kind of like
Metcalf looks great, man.
Well, yeah, Metcalf,
this guy's catching
great.
50, 60-yard touchdowns every week. It's been unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, I like the Lions, but I like the Seahawks more in this game. Give me the Seahawks plus the 3.5. All right, let's move on to viewer questions here. First one we have is from Brandon Demery. Fuck, marry, kill. I'm getting a lot of those these days. Keep firing them. I have a lot of fun with them. Super Bowl, World Cup, and CFB Championship. Who do you got?
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Super Bowl, World Cup, or...
I'll go. I'm killing the college football championship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like college football, but I gotta marry the Super Bowl, and I gotta fuck the World Cup. The World Cup. If you ever watch soccer and you root for,
is that the World Cup just the final game or the whole tournament?
The tournaments.
Oh, I mean,
how can
I thought
you
it was
sell the World Cup.
I think the rest are just one, like the big, I would think it's the World Cup championship, like the
No,
final.
that changes
It did
things.
say it.
That changes things slightly.
Well, because
The
the other
World
two are
Cup
just one
is
game.
so exhilarating to watch.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
2-3 weeks is some of the best. That's fun.
It is a lot of fun. I don't even like soccer that much, but it is fun. Mikey, what do you got there?
Give me I'm gonna man. If it's the whole tournament, are we saying the whole tournament for World Cup?
I would say the whole tournament. It doesn't say the World Cup championship
Yeah, I would
or the finals.
I would fuck the World Cup tournament. I would marry people aren't gonna like this. I would marry the college football championship.
Whoa!
I'd kill the Super Bowl because the Bears never play.
What if the Bears were in it?
That's a different story.
You already killed it.
You
Yeah.
killed it.
Yeah, you killed it. I'm gonna kill the World Cup. Unfortunately, I do like it, but it's just I'm more of a football kind of guy.
Yes.
I'll fuck the college and marry Super Bowl. Let's do one more before we get out of here. I like this one. This one's for Mikey. This one comes from Annabelle Bravo Farias. Mikey, if you were polls right now, which coach or coaches would you bring in to run the offense?
Oh man.
Oh my God. They should have brought in Kingsbury. But they didn't. I want Ben Johnson. I want the OC from Detroit to come as the new head coach. I would like him. I think he'd be a great hire. That would be the guy I would be targeting, would be Ben Johnson.
All right. Okay. Well, that was quick ones. We'll do one last one. And I mainly want to ask this one because I'm interested in what Joe's response is. This last one comes from Maxwell Pigeon. It's a great name. If you had the world's ear for 15 minutes, what would you say? Joe, I know you got something to say, pal.
Joe, do you need like a minute to think about that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't need the whole world. I'd tell them to listen to the Sportsmen and to watch the Brilliantly Dumb Show.
Sure. Sure.
And I tell them that the Bob to Sports program's a hell of a fucking program, but I don't need to prove anything to anybody, Pop. I'm in my own little world and I'm loving it.
Sure.
Well, you'd probably tell them that Derek Carr can't be trusted as well.
I mean, you'd think that anyone with rationale and a brain would realize that. So, I mean, I don't know.
Fair enough. Mike, you got anything for the world for 15 minutes?
Yeah, I would tell them stop worrying about everybody else and only worry about yourself. And be kind to each other and love each other and love each other.
That's a wonderful response.
I just think that I just don't understand. Just be kind to people. I just think people are just, we're in a lot of trouble in this world because people just act like scumbags to each other. They don't want to listen to each other. They think, that their side of the argument is always the correct side. But I'm talking about not like stupid shit like sports. I'm talking about major important things. Like you can't be closed-minded when it comes to major impactful, world ground shaking decisions or topics. You know what I mean? So keep an open mind and be kind, man. Just keep an open mind and be kind and just worry about yourself. Worry about, what you're doing for your family and to better yourself, not, get hung up in all this nonsense. It's just a shame. Stop listening to everything the news tells you all the time. Like
that's a profound response right there. Well said, Mike.
I can't think of a better way to shut the show down. I like that a lot, Mikey. Good for you. That's a great response. I think the world needs to hear that. Maybe one day you'll get your 15 minutes.
Yeah. Anyway, we really hope that you enjoyed this 4-hour episode of the Sportsman. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. I'm going right to bed. Literally,
me too.
Nicole's already in bed.
So's Holly. I'm going right to bed.
There you go. All right. That was a long one, but it was a good one. It was a throwback to last year, really getting into all of football and what it had to offer from this past week and what's going to happen next week. So we will see everyone next week. But as always, that's Mikey V. I'm the big ticket, and below me, or to the right of me, I think, with the way Mr. Anderson has it set up, is Joey D. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, comment, like, do all the things you're supposed to do, and we'll see you next time.